And I was climbing, and I skipped the first clip. I go to the second clip. I'm clipping the second clip, and my cobblestone that my foot was on, my foothold ripped out of the wall, and I decked, and I was not hooked into anything at this point because I was in the process of hooking myself into the wall.
Right.
So I'm about 20, 25 feet up. Fall, I had snapped both of my heels.
When was your, how old were you for your first competition?
10.
Dang.
Yeah.
How'd you do?
I did very well, actually. Competition is strange. It's the first time that I became the national champion. I think I was 14.
I have a 5-time national champion sitting across from me.
Actually, 9 times.
9 times!
I had one bad competition when I was older that it took me a step back, I would say, confidence-wise. And it was, the voice in my head really turned up then. It was not good.
What happened? Would you be willing to look into that camera directly and speak to whoever this is that this podcast is made for, that's in the middle of their own depression, eating disorder?
I'm gonna cry. Yeah.
Please do. It could...
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hi, whoever you are.
All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of David's Saturday Night Sit Back. Tonight, sitting across from me, I got Shannon Lochridge Moy. She is a Texas A&M graduate with a degree in business, management, marketing, related support services, and new media art with a minor in graphic design, branding, visual hierarchy, typography, and much more. More importantly, though, Shannon is a professional rock climber for USA Climbing. Back in 2010, she won gold for women's speed through the USA Climbing Federation, whose name I slightly just made up because it sounds cool. But Shannon's journey has taken her to places like Enchanted Rock National Park, McKinney Roughs Nature Park, Indian Creek in Utah, Flatiron Trail in Colorado, Amsterdam, North Carolina, Idaho, London, Italy, Paris, Liverpool, and Sawtooth Mountains, and probably a few places that I missed. She's also a photographer, charcoal artist, and designer. Her photos have been featured in places like Climb Tech, and today we're going to talk about Shannon's journey into rock climbing, and I'm really curious to pick your brain, especially after watching the docs Dawnwall and Free Solo. So Shannon, welcome to your episode of David's Saturday Night Sit Back.
Hi, thank you.
You're
Happy to be here.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I have a few easy questions, icebreakers to start. I know I'm a few weeks late, but happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh,
What'd you guys do?
Appreciate it. I was actually in Mexico for a wedding, so that overlap was perfect. It was very fun. It was beautiful. The whales are migrating right now to Cabo, so we saw them outside of our hotel room window. It's a beautiful birthday. It's great. I'm 31. Oh, and on March 1st, 3/1, I turned 31.
On 3/1.
I turned 31. Yeah.
Doesn't that
pretty
mean
cool.
that it's your golden year?
That's what my husband said. I had never heard that before, but golden birthday or something.
I think it just means you're about to have the best year of your life.
Well, here we go. I hope
mean,
so.
you're on a podcast.
So far, yeah, we're off to a good start.
You got to see the whale migration.
We're off to a good start, yeah.
So as we were talking about before we jumped on mic, I'm relatively new here, and you like to debate people about where to get the best queso.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know where to get the best queso. So where should me and the rest of the new Austinites go?
There's quite a few options out there. Ooh. I'd have to go with Matt's El Rancho for number one.
Okay.
Shout out to Matt's. And we call it Bob. So if you go to Matt's and you order a Bob, that is queso. And it is delicious. Black beans, you can get meat in there, and there's it's the best. It's the best.
I just went to a place in Dallas where I'm bummed I can't remember the name, but they put in sour cream, guacamole, some pico, some meat, maybe a few other things, but all the quesos I've ordered in the past usually is just queso.
Just the cheese.
Or maybe they put like some sort of a little garnish. This queso was wild. It was so good.
That's Matt's style too. Yeah.
Okay.
Bob has all the fixings,
Do you know this, Matt?
Matt? No, I don't know Matt, but I know Bob. I know the queso. I know that queso.
Fair enough. We also just got out of South by Southwest.
Yes.
Did you get to go to any events this year?
Not as many as I would have hoped. I didn't recognize as many artists this year, I will say. I think my discovery is slowing down over time, but it was my husband's 10th South by to attend.
Okay.
So I got to drop him off at different bars and whatnot and pick him up. That's always entertaining for me. I did get to go to a few. We love the, they have a British showcase each year, and we love British music, British culture. So it was that was fun.
Nice.
I went there. I went out a few nights, probably a few too many with work in the morning.
Yeah, well, you got to live a little, and sometimes we got to go out on weeknights.
Yeah, if the opportunity presents itself,
Why do you like British culture?
I think I was just born into it. I was born a diehard Liverpool fan, which is soccer, football, if you will. And that's my team. And my dad has been obsessed his whole life. His dad was obsessed. I've gone to a few matches over there at Anfield in Liverpool. We love British culture and music. My family is a massive music family. Instead of a playroom growing up, we had a music room.
Okay.
So I have zero musical talent other than my shower. That's my microphone.
Yep.
But my dad's a drummer, my brother's a drummer and guitarist, and he records, and
Is the Muse from Liverpool? Why did that thought just come through my mind?
I think you're right, but I'm not entirely sure. I can't answer with confidence.
Okay.
For you. Sorry.
When you said that and you were talking
Beatles
about the
are
British
from Liverpool.
culture, I was just like, isn't that where the Muse is from? I don't know.
Well, you know the Kooks, the Beatles. Have you heard of them? Okay, yeah, they're from Liverpool.
Okay.
So, Beatles everywhere.
There is one, I should have invited you guys out. Have you ever heard of, by random chance, have you heard of this band?
No.
The Broken Veal?
Ooh. Okay, I need to write it down.
They are, I can text a link to them as well, but they're on tour right now with their new album called Ordinary Love. And they came to town. They played in Dallas. They did their full band, and then in Austin they did their acoustic show. And I went. I had to go to both because I love these guys, and one of my best friends is in the band. But they absolutely crushed it. It was so much fun.
Oh, amazing!
And they
That's
came
so
on the
cool.
podcast. So if you want to go check out Austin Kranick's episode, it will definitely be live by the time this one goes live.
Amazing! I'll check it out.
Yeah, and it's just darn good music. So South by Southwest. We both went to a few things. How'd you get... Oh, before I get into that, are you a big Handmaid's Tale fan?
Oh my God, yeah.
Because you were...
I was that for Halloween. Yeah.
So I think you might be the first person on the show, to my knowledge, who's a big fan of that show.
Oh, I am. I haven't read it. Isn't it a book too?
I think
I
so.
think it started as a book.
Yeah.
And I kind of fell off after, was it season 2 or season 3? But, oh yeah, I was obsessed. Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. It was so entertaining. I love the gore.
The gore.
In the end, the gore. I love dark,
gore.
anything dark, and I love that. I don't know. It was very good.
Wasn't it addictive?
It was very addictive. Very addictive. I'm an addict to that show.
You didn't finish it though?
No, I fell off.
Why?
Because my husband fell off. You know, if your partner falls off of something and then it's so the other things are prioritized, other shows. I think that's what happened.
Maybe this is why I'm single. It's I can't relinquish control.
Well, no, someone has to be that person that calls the shots. You could be that person.
Maybe I'll be that person. But,
yes.
Well, if you ever finish it when he's out of town, season 4, do you remember how many seasons there were total?
I have no idea.
If you ever return to it, you don't need to watch the last season.
Okay.
You could even just text me and be like, how does it end? And I'll just tell you. It was one of those shows where, unfortunately, you watched Game of Thrones too, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know how you felt about the last season. Handmaid's Tale was even worse.
Oh.
The last season was so bad.
Yeah.
And I still watched it because I was a diehard fan, but I was just sitting there cringing, just you guys, what happened?
No.
Did you change directors? Did you change the script writer? Something.
Or they just don't know how to finish it?
I think they just didn't know how to finish it.
Yeah. That's how Game of Thrones felt for me, at least. Yeah.
Did you like the last season?
I still enjoyed it. It's always entertaining, and if it's compared to the previous seasons, I mean, that's still pretty good.
Yeah.
Even if it's bad compared to the previous seasons.
Yeah.
But it felt rushed. Feel rushed.
I'm going to lower this just a little bit.
Okay.
And then can you twist it up? You might need to unscrew the thingamajiggers on the side a little bit.
Wait, like that?
They go lefty-loosey. There you go. And then
Up.
point it up. Yep. And then tighten them back so it's right there. Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Sorry.
Having like 10%
go.
of your face blocked was distracting me. That's my fault.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
okay.
How did you get into flower preservation? As a
Oh my
side
gosh,
gig?
funny question. So I got into that after my own wedding. One of my good friends here, she showed up at my doorstep with all of these preserved flower things from my wedding. And I had no idea she had even left my wedding with my flowers, like she had taken them. And it was such a surprise, and it was so beautiful and meaningful to both me and my husband. And to see a man like touched by something like that, it showed me the impact that can have, and just a beautiful way to memorialize a special moment, I would say.
Yeah.
So I called her up, and I was very grateful for that. And yeah, I asked her if she would come over and teach me how to do it so I can do that for people in my life. And here I am. It got way too expensive, so I had to start charging because I made the mistake of publicizing it through social media a little too quickly, and people really latched onto that. And yeah, so now I do it kind of as a side gig. I really enjoy it. My room is a mess all the time. It's turned into my flower operation.
Do you
There's
guys have a
flowers
room
everywhere.
dedicated to it?
It was my office. I work from home.
Right.
But now I work from the kitchen table, and my office has flowers everywhere. So.
That's like we are very much in my kitchen right now.
Yes,
You know, this has because what was happening was that table was over here, and I was attempting to like podcast and work here, but I was taking everything down and putting it up, and I was like, I just want this thing to just be up 24/7, and so. Like, I had 2 people over for dinner last week, and it had been so long, I was like, I guess we're just going to stand up and eat in the kitchen because I don't really have one anymore.
You do what you got to do, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's the goal,
feel
is
that.
to one day get a bigger place so that this can all be in the bedroom, and then I can actually have, like, a dedicated dining space back.
Absolutely.
But I'm glad you let your hobby take over your office. Who needs the day job?
I know, right?
They can take the second-tier workspace.
Yeah, it could be worse. I mean, at least flowers are beautiful, so.
Yeah. Is it pretty good money?
No.
No, it's truly just for fun and charged.
It kind of has evened out over time. I don't even know. I mean, I was looking into getting an LLC for it, but me trying to keep track of like the books and things, I'm just not reliable in that way. If I'm being honest with myself.
Oh, you're talking to an ex-accountant. It's like
Help
the
me.
worst thing you can tell
Sorry.
me. No,
Scratch that.
I'm kidding. No, that's very common among small business owners. So
Yeah, it's
I
just
don't
hard
think
to
any
navigate.
of them care about. I mean, they care about revenue, but they're not like, all right, let's make sure my assets equal my liability. Like, no one cares about that.
Definitely.
Except accountants.
Well, also, it's like I have so much going on. I feel like outside of that, with my actual full-time job and with rock climbing and trying to keep my house clean, I don't want it to get that big, you know?
Yeah.
We'll keep it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right now it's manageable, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But-
You know that phrase, never meet your heroes?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, there's this phrase that goes, never meet your heroes, because, I don't know, they end up being disappointing, or, you know, because we're all human,
Oh,
so we're
yeah.
not perfect. Even people we put on a pedestal have flaws, and maybe they look good on the TV or when they're climbing the side of a mountain, but then you meet them in person, it's like, womp womp. But I don't know if this was a hero of yours, but you got to meet Alex Hanold.
Yes, I did.
How'd that go?
It was, I mean, to me, it was as expected. Climbers are a very unique bunch of people. He was very unique. The type where we went to the bars. This is actually at South by Southwest. I was trusted with hosting him. So to a movie premiere for the Dawn Wall, they were premiering at South by, I think it was a few years ago. And that was such an honor, and it was great. And he's very quiet, keeps to himself. Kind of, you've watched Free Solo?
And Dunwall. I got to both of them.
Yes.
Yep.
He's
Sort of like
Free
he's in the
Solo
movie.
is very accurate. Yes, to his personality. Like won't hold his beer, you know, because moisture on your hands as a climber. It's bad for your hands. It will actually dry them out a little bit. Yeah, so if you ever see a climber hot tubbing, their hands will be up like this or with gloves on. Some people sleep with lotion on their hands and with gloves on. Yeah, it's a lot of things. Your hands matter a lot in rock climbing, believe it or not. Yeah.
That was one of the things I was cringing about in the movie. Well, not cringing, but I think it may have been in both of them, but maybe highlighted more in Dawn Wall, where they were showing close-up shots of their fingers on their toes. I'm just like, you rock climbers, you're putting yourselves through a different kind of hell than like hockey players or football players or soccer players. Like,
it is different.
This is much different.
It's funny though, because to us it's not hell, that's heaven. It's like the best. It's love heights, love that try hard feeling. There's nothing greater than that.
So I want to go into your story chronologically, but before we do that, can you give us a rock climbing story of either a really fun experience, a time you hurt yourself, maybe just one of those climbs that just stands out to you?
Okay, I do have one injury that I had. I'm sure this would come up eventually anyway. In Utah one time, I was a little bit younger. My team would do this people go to summer camp, but me and my team would hop in a van and drive across the country, climbing outdoors in all these destinations. And we were in Utah at this place called Maple Canyon. This place is very unique in that the rocks, it's not really cliffy like you would expect. It's more of, they're called cobblestones. So they're like this big around, and you kind of grab onto them. It kind of looks like if you took a bunch of pebbles and glued them to a sheet of paper. Okay. So a bunch of round boulders. And I was climbing, and I skipped the first clip. I go to the second clip. I'm clipping the second clip, and my cobblestone that my foot was on, my foothold ripped out of the wall, and I decked. Decking is when you think of like hit the deck. Decking is when you fall all the way to the ground. So I decked, and I was not hooked into anything at this point because I was in the process of hooking myself into the wall.
Right.
So I'm about 20, 25 feet up. Fall, I had snapped both of my heels, and I fell to the ground and flung forward. So I thought I was more concerned on my palms because I palmed the ground. Those turned out okay. I had to eventually be hiked out of the canyon and taken into the hospital. We're in the middle of nowhere in Utah. Like, this is not Salt Lake City, okay? Yeah, found a hospital, x-rayed both my heels, and I looked them dead in the eye, and I'm like, I have nationals in 7 days, the national championships. So I'm going to be climbing. Like, I need to be able to get my feet in my climbing shoes, right? Which are very tight. Think of ballet shoes.
Okay.
Like, your toes are, they're very tight shoes on my 2 snapped heels. And they just laughed at me like, no, you're not going to be climbing in a week. And I did. And I won nationals that year. So I was the national champion.
Wow.
With 2 snapped heels.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What year was that? Do you recall?
I have no idea. Oh, gosh. I think that was my 3rd national title.
Got it. I want to shout out a friend real quick, by the way.
Okay.
Kirsty Bruce is going to be ecstatic that you're on tonight. So she is a colleague of mine. We work for the same company. She lives in Los Angeles, Hollywood area, and she is an avid rock climber. So every Monday when we have a team meeting and we ask everyone the classic, what did you do with your weekend? Like 90% of the times her answer is like, I got in my Jeep. I went out to, she just drives. She doesn't even like get on maps. That. She just like goes, which to me is very scary. I'm like, you don't even know. She's like, no, you just got to find a good rock formation somewhere, and then you're just on your way. And I'm like, okay. And sometimes she's like, yeah, I almost got lost, and I didn't think I was gonna find my way back. I'm like, Kirsty, if you ever don't show up to one of these Monday meetings, I'm calling 911 and being like, I have a friend somewhere in the Los Angeles area, in the middle of nowhere, near a really nice rock formation that's lost.
I love that. Hey, Kirsty, if you ever want to go climb, hit me up.
Come on out to us.
Yeah,
is there good
or
climbing
I'll go
here?
to you, dude. There's decent climbing here.
How far do you have to drive for like a good climb?
Good climbing. From here, it's not that far. It's called Reimer's Ranch. Okay. That's pretty good. That's kind of by Pace Bend-ish. Yeah. not too far. Some of the best rock climbing in the world, though, like world-renowned rock climbing is in way West Texas, El Paso.
Okay.
Which is shocking because you think of like this flat desert,
Yeah.
you know, like on the border of Mexico, there's not much going on. That is some of the best rock climbing in the world. People from all over, French, people, you don't know what language they're speaking. It's beautiful out there. But that's also like a 12-hour drive, so you dedicate some time to that.
You can't just do that on a weekend excursion. Or I guess you could.
Well, you could.
You left,
I've done it.
Friday night, start climbing Saturday morning.
Yes.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, but it's amazing.
When you won nationals, where was that at?
That specific year, I think that one was in California. Eventually, they hosted in the largest gym. They would host nationals in Atlanta every year because that was where the largest climbing gym was in the country.
Yeah.
So I won there a lot. I've won a few.
So you know what's crazy about this situation we're in right now to me is that I'm someone who is scared of heights. Like, you asked me to climb a 16-foot ladder to change a light bulb. I'm not your guy. And you climb like mountains with minimal fear. Healthy amount of fear?
No, well, probably unhealthy amount of lack of fear.
But you were nervous to come on the show tonight.
I know, this is nerve-wracking to me.
That's so fascinating.
But if I were like in front of a wall right now, I'd feel so comfortable. You know,
I should have got
I do feel
a
comfortable.
backdrop of a mountain wall.
Yeah, and I just
put
start
that up
climbing
or
it.
something.
Oh, me outside of a Chipotle is dangerous because it's like they always have the rocks that I could climb. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I got one climbing story for you with a twist at the end because this person is not a rock climber.
Okay.
So it was in early 2020. All the gyms were shut down, and I was desperate to get some sort of exercise in. So I found this parking garage where the staircase was outside. And I was like, that's cool. You get like fresh air. It was April, so out in Sacramento, it was beautiful at the time. And so what I would do is I'd run up the staircase, and then when I got to the top floor, I'd do like some lunges, some body weight squats, some push-ups, and then I'd run back down and run back up. And it's like the only form of exercise I could think of at the time.
That's great.
It was good. It was a really good workout. I was kicked my butt. So I was going out there like 3 days a week, and I'd been doing this for a couple weeks. And one day, as I'm heading back down the staircase, I noticed that there's a guy crossing the street without his shoes on. And in my head, I just sort of registered like, oh, it's probably a homeless guy or whatever. And as I'm getting closer, I noticed he had on like really nice jeans and a really nice shirt. He's like a relatively handsome dude. I'm like, oh, this guy's not homeless. You don't see like dressed up handsome homeless people or pretty homeless people very often. Like, that's just not their vibe.
Right.
And so I get to the bottom, and as I'm sort of like catching my breath and just taking a break for a minute, I notice he's like stretching his legs and his hamstrings and whatnot. And I'm like, what is this guy? Is he about to run on these stairs too, but just without shoes? So I start running back up. And as I'm about a quarter of the way up, out of the corner of my eye, I see something that scared me so bad. I actually like jumped and was like, holy fuck. This was a brick structure, and the way they designed the architecture was every few bricks or so, like one of the bricks would actually pop out, sort of like these foam walls are doing. And this man was scaling the side of this parking garage, and he beat me to the top.
No way.
So
Was he just doing it for fun?
I didn't know yet.
Don't know. Okay.
So I get to the top, and he's now sitting at the top, just like resting for a minute, looking at the city. And so I sort of wait for a second for him to turn around and start climbing back down. And in my head, I was like, I'm going to beat this guy.
Yeah.
So I go down these stairs like as quickly as I can, thinking there's no way he could beat anyone like going downstairs. And sure enough, when I got to the bottom, he's already there. And so I took out my headphones, and I was like, what's up, dude? You just decide that it'd be a good day to scale a building while we're in the middle of this pandemic?
Casual.
Do you have any idea what he does for a living? Any guesses based off that story?
Is he like one of those window cleaner people?
No? Good guess. He's in the circus.
Oh, okay.
So
that makes sense.
He was like, my gym's closed, so
that.
I'm looking for new ways to stay in shape.
So y'all are on the same, that was your solution, but just a different execution of the same.
Very different execution.
Amazing.
Yeah,
okay.
I forget that guy's name. I wish I kept in touch. He would have been for a good podcast guest.
Hey, he should start buildering. That's a thing called buildering, where
Bouldering?
you're like, bouldering?
Yeah.
It's that, but buildering. where instead of an actual designated rock climbing wall, it's a building. So
Okay.
some friends of mine used to do that in college around campus.
Bouldering.
Like, not the safest, but yeah,
Because
bouldering.
you don't really have anything to harness to, right?
Well, bouldering is when you climb without a rope at all, so you don't need the harness at all.
That's right.
Bouldering is short. We're not all Alex Honnold's here. I'm not free soloing thousands of feet, but it's short, no rope, and bouldering is the same thing, but on a building. Yeah, with no mats under you, unless you bring some, but you'd get caught.
Right.
Mats are a dead giveaway.
Where'd you go to school? Or Texas A&M?
Texas A&M.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the flattest place on earth.
Is that a good
which is kinda
school for
funny.
bouldering?
Well, we found some buildings that were they had potential, but again, the risk of getting caught. I don't know if it's worth the reward. So
What would happen?
I don't know. Hopefully, not be expelled
I mean, it's not
or
like you're...
fall and injure yourself. But
It seems so innocent, though. Like, it's not like you're... I'm trying to think of something
we're not like
bad.
graffitiing or
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
right, yeah. Just I don't know. I think the hazard of it, people get freaked out by things like that.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Naturally, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where were you born?
I was born in Allentown, Pennsylvania. I moved around quite a bit before I ended up in Texas. I was born in Allentown, don't remember it at all. But my dad was in the Navy, and he went to the Naval Academy and then got into pharmaceutical sales. We ended up bouncing around to Chicago and then Charlotte, North Carolina. Then I moved to Dallas, Texas, or Fort Worth, a little suburb, So I was there since first grade.
You were in Dallas by the first grade?
Mm-hmm.
Do you even remember the other three places?
I remember
well?
Charlotte pretty vividly. That's like my first memories were in Charlotte.
What do you remember?
I remember a bike ride with my family, and me and my sister getting in the biggest fight ever. I don't know. I think one of us ended up pushing the other one over, something like that. My family's always been very outdoorsy. I never went to Disneyland or Disney World until now for work. All of our family vacations were going camping or a canoe trip. And I have a crazy canoe camping story for you. My family survived a tornado one time on the side of a river. Yeah, and it was so windy, obviously. We had to take our tent down, and it was one of those where you kind of canoe as you go, and then you stop and camp during the night.
Yep.
And tornado came through. We didn't find out until the next day when we escaped, but we had to take our tent down and use our tent as a blanket because it was just going to blow over in the night. So it's not like we could stay in the tent. So we made it.
Did you keep all your gear?
From then, that trip?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we had it all.
So the
Yeah,
canoe
it
didn't blow away?
maintained.
You were able to...
Canoe's good. Yes,
Were
they
you
actually still have it.
Were you scared?
Yeah, I think so. I remember being confused. Like, it was really loud and cold. But now as an adult, I know that it was a tornado, and I feel kind of badass about it.
That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool story.
It's pretty crazy, right?
How many people can say they survived a tornado?
I know. And it's like my poor parents, bless their heart, with their 3 children, just like, oh my God, of all the weekends we chose to do this.
And that was in North Carolina?
That was actually, I think that was the Colorado River. I'm probably remembering that wrong. I was very young. I was very young on that trip, but
Is Kylie your older or younger? Where do you fall in the 3?
I'm the middle child. I'm the overlooked, neglected middle child.
I thought the middle child was the favorite.
It is, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just joking. Yeah, no, yeah. I'm the calm one. No, yeah. It's funny, all 3, I have an older brother and a little sister, and my older brother he's an extremely talented musician, and he's in Austin. He went to Texas State. He's been here the longest of any of us. Then I moved here next. It was always a dream of mine as a designer, like you hope you can get a gig here, get a job. It's very competitive here creatively. And then my little sister is in pharmaceutical sales as well, and she just moved here recently. So the whole gang's here.
Yes.
And my parents just moved here too, actually. So.
Oh, the dream.
Yes.
We were just talking about how
I
I'm
know.
trying to get
I'm
some of my family to do the same thing.
Yes, I know. Yeah. See, they'll end
All
up
right,
here.
we're planting
They'll end up
seeds.
here.
We're
yes.
planting seeds.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
What's your older brother's name?
Sean.
Is he doing music full time?
He does it full time. He works at a record shop. He is, if you've heard of Equipment Room in Austin, it's fairly new, but he's the DJ there. It's a music bar where the whole thing is soundproofed. Like the sponges all cover every wall. You walk in, it's like a suction cup of sound. And he's their DJ, and he's very talented. He records his own music, writes his own music. He's a drummer, guitarist. He can do everything. I love my brother. He's great.
What about Kylie? What does she do?
She is in pharma sales. She did some medical device sales for a little bit. My dad had always said, I don't want any of y'all to pursue what I do because my dad did pharma. And, of course, Kylie, in her way, she pursued pharma. And she's very smart, very intelligent, very beautiful. She, But all three of our personalities are very different from each other. Yeah. And it's an interesting dynamic. Family holidays are interesting.
Same in my family. But, there's 5 of us, and I'll just... we're all just so different. Yeah. We were raised Christian, and one of us stayed like very much on that path. My brother was the first one to get married and start like popping out kids. I have a sister that's a dancer, another sister that just graduated high school, who's still like finding herself, but also has a very large personality. And family Christmases it's the one time a year that we've all been gathering again, and every Christmas is a little bit different.
Yeah, and everyone has something different to offer yes. Oh my, absolutely.
So fast forward to Dallas. How long did you guys stay there for? Do you recall?
We were there, I think it was like, my parents were there 23 years. I got out. I feel bad. No offense, but I got out as soon as I could. I don't know. I always wanted to go to A&M, which is kind of funny because as a climber, it's like, why would you want to go there and not Colorado or whatever? Sure. Which I also did want to go, but out of state, that whole deal. I was there first grade until I graduated high school. Yeah, so a long time.
What was middle and high school like in Dallas? Middle and high school.
I'm the wrong person to ask. So high school for me was weird. I was the rock climber. Like everyone else had their team sports at the school. I went to a school called South Lake Carroll that is very well known in Texas for their athletic and I feel like everyone that attends that high school is very talented and ends up being very successful. And I'm this rock climber that I found my thing, but like I did off-campus PE. I didn't have as large of a group of friends as the other kids, I would say.
Would you say that was primarily due to the rock climbing?
In part, yes. Also, I'm kind of shy sometimes. I don't know. All of my best friends growing up, I was on the same climbing team my whole life. Those were my best friends. And since none of us went to the same high school, it's like I was waiting for the school bell to ring for me to go out and then be with my friends, if that makes sense. It wasn't like my little sister's a cheerleader. She was a gymnast. So she had her cheerleading camaraderie present during school. So I didn't have as much of that during school hours, but yeah.
I wasn't going to bring this up till later, but based off what you just said, it might be appropriate when you were talking about how like you were waiting for school to get out so you could go be with your friends. One of the articles I read on climbing.com in preparation for this was when a black lady, she was a college student, was getting her stuff together to go join her rock climbing friends, and a black guy walked past her and was like, hey, if you want to fit in with the black community here, you should really stop doing that. Is that...
That's a shame that anyone would say that, but I'm very sad to hear that, and I hope that she went rock climbing anyway.
Oh, she did. Yeah, throughout the rest of the article, she talked about how it spurred her on.
Good,
but I almost wondered if you sort of saw some of the same thing, where like you almost felt like not ostracized, but like you and your rock climbing friends were just maybe misunderstood.
In a way, yes, and you have to keep in mind, like rock climbing is very popular now, and it's a very big, common thing. There's a ton of teams out there. I mean, it's in the Olympics now. That was not the case back then when I started doing it. And it was just very unfamiliar, I think. It was a little weird, I think, from other people's perspective. So not necessarily frowned upon, but yeah, it's like, you're a rock climber. And I've heard a few times throughout my whole life that I don't necessarily look like a rock climber. People would not, that's the last thing they would guess about me. And sometimes I laugh because I'm like, well, why? How would you have any idea? You know,
what does a rock climber look like?
What does a rock climber look like?
Right.
Someone on a wall. Like, how would you know? You know, yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's not, I don't know. Anyone can go climb a rock if they want to.
Right.
I'm just one of those people that does want to. So.
Before we get too far past high school, there is one story, or not story, a picture I wanted to show you of you.
I'm scared.
Don't be scared.
Let's see.
Go ahead and, take a sip of your wine while I pull this up. This is you, right?
That was the great camping trip, I think.
Oh, is that the tornado one?
That was the tornado trip, actually. That's so funny.
You were so young.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I remember that, though.
What goes through your head when you see this picture of you from lifetimes ago?
That is you're going to laugh at this, but that trip and that picture makes me think of, that was the first time I had to pee outside, actually. Well, the first time I remember it and having to figure that out. So, yeah. I've done it a lot since then.
My sister, I think, my youngest sister, I think she did that for the first time when she was this right before COVID? So and then here's this one was on the same post, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Are you a little bit older there?
Okay, yeah, I'm older there.
You look like you might be a year or two older.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure, I can't remember where that is. That might be in Austin, actually, when I was here I took a climbing trip that weekend.
You don't, unfortunately, I didn't tag it, but.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like it could be Austin.
Yeah, but that's definitely bouldering because I have the crash pad on my back. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
What?
Oh my gosh.
You are lighting up when you see this picture.
I just love rock climbing so much. I love seeing anything that reminds me of me rock climbing that young. So. What parts
of this little girl still exist, and what parts of this little girl has changed?
Well, I'm outside. That's consistent. I don't know. That's a very deep and good question. The passion for climbing is definitely still the same. That's something that has stayed the same. I'm taller.
That answer doesn't. I'm older. My hair is longer.
I've aged quite a bit.
I've got married.
Yes. Yeah, wow. I don't know. It's crazy. I was so innocent. I had no idea what was coming my way.
And then there's one more. You look so happy.
Yes, I was so happy. I love the outdoors. Being outside is my favorite thing. I love camping. I love the pain of going 7 days without showering. Oh my God. Just like, oh, it's so fun. Yeah. But like I said, that's how I was raised. Those were our family vacations. Was that. So, yeah.
I knew the rock climbing portion obviously stayed with you to a certain extent.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just in a different way now. So.
Do you felt like by the time you got to your senior year or your junior year that you sort of got into your stride and sort of were figuring out who you were? Or was the whole middle and high school experience one that was happy to be moved away from once you graduated?
No. Well, kind of. I kind of knew who I was. I definitely, if you asked me anything about myself, the first thing I would say is rock climbing. That's just been such a big part of my life, and I would say that is how I identified myself. Then actually, once I graduated from high school, that's when things started to shift a little bit. I guess my senior year of high school, I'll go back to that. I did start to see more value in the school, like socializing and trying to find my way there. Like I went to prom, all those cliche things, which I don't believe I did any of the other years, like dances and stuff like that. I was very focused on competing. And for the first time, senior year and then going into college, it was like, okay, now I'm exploring other things in my life, and maybe I can deprioritize competition a little bit and just, a little bit more well-rounded, I would say. Yeah.
So you were competing young.
I started competing very young.
I don't know unless that's normal.
It is young.
Are other rock climbers also competing as teens?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a lot of teen competitors.
There's no Olympian, to my knowledge, that's, okay, fact check me on this, over 20. But,
really?
Yeah.
We could do, that's just
fact
not because I
check.
think you're wrong, just for funsies here. That is my face. Thanks. Who is the oldest winning Olympian?
Climber.
Climber. Do you know the name Basa Moem?
No.
I'll fact check it for the YouTube. If you watch the YouTube version, pull it up, and I'll have something there.
Okay.
But I don't know a lot about the Olympics, so I will take your word for it that they're 20 or relatively young. Let's say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where were we?
So
fact checking. Was I wrong?
Well, no, you weren't off by much. Do you know who Nathaniel Coleman is?
Of course.
He won in 2020 in Tokyo, and he's 27 now, so he was roughly 23-ish.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah.
I like how you
I
said,
think of him back. I think of him like young, I don't know. Back when I was very active in it. It's funny.
So when did you? So I wasn't expecting that you were competing in high school, just because this is how little I know about rock climbing.
Mm-hmm.
When did you? I'm sure as a kid you were probably just like always climbing stuff. Yes,
I don't
or
know
no?
actually. Maybe you'd have to ask my mom. Probably, but I did escape from my crib a few times back in the day. But I got into it very randomly. I went to a birthday party when I was 8 years old, I think. And it was a rock climbing birthday party. And I left that birthday party asking my parents, begging them to quit everything else and join a rock climbing team. And my parents are looking around like, what the fuck is a rock climbing team? Like what? This was not a thing, And they had never heard of it. And like no one in my family climbs. No one climbed. It wasn't a thing that was passed on for generations. It was just a spur of the moment thing. I'm very, very fortunate to have found my thing at such a young age. And the week before I was set out to join said rock climbing team, I broke my arm. So that was postponed a little bit. Great trampoline accident.
Oh.
I know.
Was it a big trampoline or one of the little guys?
Neighbors, yeah. It's bad. Yeah.
Did you just jump too high and fall off?
Jump too high. Yeah. Actually, I think I messed that up. That was earlier on. I broke the same arm twice. I've broken a lot of bones in this body. Okay. So.
And you're still moving around and stuff.
I know.
Pretty
I can walk. Everything is good. I was in a wheelchair for a year. That was crazy. We'll get to that at some point.
Okay.
But anyway, once I joined the team and quit everything else, it was like meant to be. I don't know. I just loved it. I was not great at the beginning. It wasn't one of those things where like, oh, she's a prodigy. Like she was born to do this. It was, I worked really hard. I just enjoyed it that much. And then it was like, okay, she's pretty good,
And outside of the actual climbing, are you doing anything else as far as like, were you in the gym, yoga? Like, is there anything that climbers do to help build up their strength?
Absolutely.
What does that look like?
Like currently as an adult and what I do?
Maybe
Like
more back in the earlier days.
I got into running when I was in my when I was like 16, I ran a lot. My coach, he is the greatest. He was my greatest influence in climbing. He's such a great human. He was my officiant at my wedding. He's
What's his name?
Kyle Clinkscales.
Shout out Kyle.
He's the man. Yeah, he has his team has been the most successful and well-decorated climbing team in the nation. So I think that says a lot.
Was
about
this in
him and his
Dallas?
talent. Yeah,
Sorry.
he's in Dallas. Yeah,
Okay.
and that was in Dallas on my team. And he was very big on the mental side of climbing, which is so true. A lot of people see it as like a workout or fitness and what are you going to do to help? And yes, yoga has helped a lot, but I hate yoga. I do it sometimes still. And he would have us do that once a week. And but he would compare climbing to, he read all the sports psychology books, you know, and so we only absorbed snippets of whatever he was reading, and the way that he expressed it to us was always so well said and well explained, and we all could get behind it. And he would compare running and golf to rock climbing, ironically enough, like golf and rock climbing, two very different things, but it's such a mental thing where if you're trying to hit your golf ball and things go sideways very quickly, you can't change anything that's already happened. You just have to you have to mentally restart and just do the best you can from that point forward. And that is very useful in rock climbing as well. So if you do a move wrong, or if you read your route wrong, or, you know, things happen, especially if you're climbing outside. Yeah. Like I've had a friend, she put her hand in a hold and a bat started licking her fingers in there and she freaked out. But if you can mentally restart and put whatever's already happened behind you, then you can move forward and keep trying and putting in that effort. So I have golf clubs and I have tennis shoes to run. And running helps me a lot in moving through when you are just physically exhausted and turning off, as my coach would say, the voice in your head. Because the moment the voice in your head tells you, oh, my leg is sore or I'm exhausted, then you start, like, that's all you can think about. So if you can silence that noise a little bit, you never know how far you can go. You can just keep going. So it is kind of this game, and it's fun for me to see the overlap of running specifically, because I don't golf as much, but that and rock climbing, they really do go hand in hand. So I run a lot. I don't do yoga as much as I should.
Sure.
And I do abs. There is one specific type of training that I don't do anymore, but I used to do a lot, and it is called trisets, which is not triceps, but sets. And it's push, pull, and core. So, yeah.
So I think one of the things you just said, a lot of people could resonate with, which is trying to silence that voice in your head. Mm-hmm. Do you remember any lessons or practical tips that he gave on how to do that?
Let me think.
Or even just in terms of running, if like you got 4 miles one week, would he be like, all right, well, this week we're upping it to 5 and you have no choice except to just do it?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So, one way is, this is in rock climbing, but, if you're exhausted and it's time for you to check out, like go home, leave the climbing gym, you're done climbing, just climb one more. And this is another thing in climbing, if you get frustrated working on what's called a project, which means it's something that you've been trying for a lot, but you keep falling, but you have been trying, and if you're just like burnt out on it, try it one more time. The moment you decide you are done, just try one more time. Because you don't know. You never know until you try it one more time. And then you can be done. But you might be done and you may have succeeded. So, yeah.
All right. I like that. I
like
that. So did he almost give, before or during your guys' practices, would he almost sit down the entire team and almost give, not like a speech, but like have like a verbal, like a lesson for you guys almost?
Not each practice, but overall, yes. Especially before competitions and on trips and stuff. He was also very good he's one of those people that's naturally gifted in in a giant group of people, making each of you feel important. So not every coach has that ability. You just feel like a member of, like, you're just a part of a lump sum, but you are a part of that, but you're also important. So.
Do you recall how he did that?
One-on-one talks, I guess, and just he could cater whatever lesson plan you needed at that random practice, he knew how to target whatever you needed to improve on.
Yeah.
And he's very good at that. Yeah. And he loves to talk shit, and he calls it like he sees it, and he did not beat around the bush on like, you need to lighten up, or you need to chill out and calm down. And I don't know, he was a very good coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to talk shit too.
Yes.
I always tell my friends if I'm making fun of you, it's because I love you.
Exactly. It's out of love. It's out of love.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. 1000%.
How big was when do you happen to recall what grade you were in when you were put on Kyle's team for the first time?
Yes. I originally started on a different team, but there were some issues about 3 years down the line, and that was when I joined after my arm healed when I was 9, I believe, 9 or 10. I was on that team for about 3 years. My coach, the team fell apart, and my parents forced me, and that was for like legal issues. And
give us the tea. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We don't have to talk about them.
Yeah, but he was no more, and my parents sat me down, and they were like, you can either stop climbing, or you can go join Kyle Clinkscale's team, which was he was the coach of a different team in the Dallas area. And at first I was like, no, it was like my enemy team. Okay. So think of think of like Cowboys and Eagles.
Right.
Yeah. It was like, I will never join that team. Blah, blah, blah. Within the week, I missed climbing already. And I was like, okay, I'll join that team. I'll give it a shot. So I joined Kyle's team, and thank God for that. So I joined it, and it was great. And I think I was 12 at that time, maybe 13. I don't know.
When was your, how old were you for your first competition?
10.
Dang.
Yeah.
How'd you do?
I did very well, actually. Competition is strange. It's you have to compete in at least 4 local in your region, 4 local competitions, then compete in regionals, then you have to qualify for divisionals, and then you can make it to nationals, right? So that's a bunch of competitions, and you have to advance enough in each one or place well enough to qualify for the next. So from the moment I started competing, I have always made it to nationals. And when I was 10, I made the national team. I was in 4th place. Yeah. So, but I was like very young. I was not allowed to compete in the World Cup, for example.
How do you have to be a certain age, or what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once you reach 14, then you are allowed to advance to Worlds.
Got it. So 10 years old. Do you remember how your family reacted to that? If they were...
Oh my God, I do actually, because they all showed up wearing matching shirts. And my first nationals, they were bright red. They were bright red. I think that was in Virginia. Oh man, we're going way back in the archives right now.
So this is this the Lochridge family or
the
Lochridge
family? The Lochridge family.
Shout out to the Lochridge family for coming out in the bright red shirts.
They always show up for me. They're the best. They're so supportive. They always have been. They're like, what is this random sport? I guess you're pursuing it, and you happen to be good at it, I guess. So, but they were never like the crazy parents that pressure you into succeeding. You know, my parents were the perfect level of, if you want to do this, then we will support you in doing it. If you ever don't want to do it, then we will support you that way as well. So shout out to them.
Shout out to the Lochridge family. Did school take back burner at all?
Oh my God, yeah.
Quite a bit.
I would like, oh God, my old principal.
I mean, you're so far past it now, it's not like you can get in trouble, right?
Yeah, no, I can't get
They can't retract your high school diploma.
I would take Kyle Clinkscales. He would say, all y'all need to tell your folks, like, I'll talk to them, but you need to have them tell your school that you're going to miss Thursday of school because we're going on a day trip to go climbing outside. And there's like a random place, and we'd have to trespass private property to get there. It's not a public climbing area. It's called, oh God, can I say it? It's called The Burn in Cleburne, Texas. And so instead of school, sick day, thank you, Mom, she allowed me to be picked up in our team van with all the other kids whose parents decided to allow the same thing. And we would drive out and go climbing for the day. And then they don't have to know that.
They don't have to know that.
Yeah.
The bulk of your climbing then, was it mainly indoors and then that type of outdoor climbing was more of an exception?
Yes. Like training is indoors, definitely. Competitions are only indoors because it has to be something controlled. If it were outdoors in nature, people could go out there and practice it beforehand, if that makes sense. So competition has to be an equal playing field. So all the routes have to be net new, like none of us have seen it before, and see who makes it the highest. So my training was primarily indoors. Our practices were always indoors. But every summer we would do this thing called summer trip and drive out to Kentucky. Sometimes it was along the West Coast. Like we did the Utah thing when I cracked both my ankles. Ouch. But usually it was in Kentucky, which is my favorite climbing in the world. It's in Kentucky, believe it or not.
At the place, we'll come back to Kentucky in a bit.
Yeah.
At the place which we shall not name again. How big were how big were these mountains or hills or
just little cliffs? I mean, they're like
okay.
They're
like a couple hundred feet
like 60,
or
no, it's not like that. No,
okay.
Maybe like 60 or 70. Yeah, it sounds underwhelming, but
well, no, I'm trying to because even like I said, I forget if we were on or off mic, but like even one time I had to climb a ladder in a church and that ceiling was pretty high. Maybe 30. How high is, well, I'm 6'5" of me. So, 60 feet's really high.
It is high. Yes. Yes.
Would you have ropes on for that, or are you just
yes.
free?
Oh no, it's ropes.
Okay.
Yeah, ropes.
So you're relatively safe if you fall.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
For the most part.
For the most part. So for competition purposes, do they have gyms? Do you call them gyms?
Yeah, they're gyms. Climbing gym.
Are these climbing gyms? So are they like custom tailored for competition? Do they actually like restructure the walls and whatnot specifically for?
The walls are set, but a lot of people, when they are building a gym, especially nowadays as it's becoming more and more popular, they will keep that in mind. So they'll build it in a way that there's an audience area and like a viewing ground, and keep it. They're huge now. Like the climbing gyms are huge now, and I love it.
So do they keep them secret to prevent, like, let's say you're about to compete, right, in the nationals, and will they keep that gym a secret so you can't just drive or fly out there and do some practicing on your own?
No, actually, you know in advance. So I would know, especially back in the day when it was always in Atlanta, or for like 4 years in a row. Nationals was in Atlanta, and we always knew that. But the route, they set them different each time. So it's the same wall.
Okay.
So you know the angles that you're going to be working with, kind of. Like these are huge, huge rock climbing gyms. Some of the walls go up like this. That's called like an arch or an overhang. There's some that are slabby that go that way, and you have to climb like that way. And you don't know which of the walls you're going to be faced with. And you don't know how the route is going to be set.
Why is Kentucky your favorite place to climb?
Oh man, the Red River Gorge, middle of nowhere, Kentucky. It is so good. It is it's a massive outdoor climbing area. Like you have to drive from area to all these different walls. They're beautiful. It's as if God decided this should be climbed by a human. Like it. And it's not something like when you climb outside, it's not hand carved,
Right.
Like people aren't like digging out little handholds for you to hold and make it, it's just natural completely. And it's so beautiful. It's just amazing. They have something for everyone. It could be your first time climbing, and there's something for you to climb at Kentucky at the Red River Gorge in Kentucky. We call it the RRG. It's so fun. I have so many amazing memories there. I've gone there I don't know, like 8 summers with my team, with my best friend. Imagine summer camp with just your best friends, and you're going out doing your favorite thing in the world, and it's just amazing. That's another world-renowned spot, by the way, for climbing, where you'll see people from all around the globe rock climbing in Kentucky.
That's so,
in Kentucky.
it's like a destination spot for climbers.
Yes, and I think there is this common like misconception of rock climbing is like you're climbing up a mountain, you know. The thing about the places that I've listed so far, these are not above ground mountains. This is the Red River Gorge, which is like a carving through the earth. So you hike down into it, and you're climbing up cliffs that way. It's magical. It's magic. It's great.
And you're camping out there while you're doing this?
Oh my God,
Since it's in the middle of nowhere, you'll just go out there and stay for a week or something like that?
Oh, we used to stay for 2.5 months. It was the entire summer. From like the last school day. From the last school day to, yeah, bless my
to the
parents'
first school
hearts.
day?
So,
You would just peace out all summer?
Oh, yeah. And, oh my God. Yes,
When you were
but
like,
I loved it. And you really get into the heart-to-hearts with your friends. And I think that's how the bonding, you know, builds. It was great. Oh my gosh, I wouldn't change a thing.
What was the first summer you did that? Do you remember how old you were?
Maybe 13, maybe.
And was this official? Official in the sense, like, did Kyle plan this, or did you all just sort of do this on your own?
No. Kyle planned it, but oh my God, Kyle. To qualify to go on this trip, you had to do this thing called Hell Week. He's gonna kill me. So Hell Week is like this weekend-long thing just in our team. And even if you didn't make it through Hell Week, he would still let you go on this trip. Think of like a group of kids, okay?
Right. You're like
you have to do
14.
Hell Week. Hell Week is like, we would have to do this obstacle course in our climbing gym that he would set up where there's like a 2,000-piece puzzle. And as a team, we'd have to figure out how to complete this puzzle. Go to the next step. Like, you have to figure out how to transfer everyone on one little crash pad across the gym, let's say. I'm just making up like things.
Sure.
But we did have to do some of these things. We had to tread water in a pool for like 40 minutes. I don't know, just all these crazy things. And if you make it through Hell Week, then you get to go on summer trip, which was in Kentucky every summer. Yeah. It was great.
Did most kids make it through?
Yeah. Oh, everyone did.
I was going to say.
We all save each other.
Like...
If someone is sinking in that pool, you pull them up and hold them while you're treading water. You know.
What's funny about this Hell Week is that, did you ever see the movie The Guardian?
No.
Did you ever, you know who Rob O'Neill is, the guy that killed bin Laden?
Well, now you say that, yeah. Oh, wait, yeah.
So the Navy SEALs, like, I'm pretty sure that's how they kick off their training in San Diego, or any Navy SEAL base, is they do something. So here you have these 14-year-olds, and obviously it's different. I'm not saying you guys were doing the same thing these SEAls were doing, but just the fact that they were taking this concept and making these 14 years old do the same thing is, like, insane. Just so you can go on a camping trip.
I know.
So you can go to a social, and I'm sure the exercises helped with like quieting the voice, and there was more to it than just.
It's the team building, I think, is the most part, and just like something to do. I don't know.
Well, and I'm sure that to your point, that there is a bond that you guys connected with each other that most teens don't have, because most teens don't go through that kind of opposition with your colleagues at 14 or 15 or 16 years old.
Right. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That sounds so special.
It's very special.
Hell Week was so special.
Hell Week was a blast. Oh my God.
So you go on Hell Week and then you disappear. Do you have any contact with your family, or is it like, because at the time, did you have cell phones? Did we have cell phones? Because we were close in age. So
that's funny. Well, no, but my first Hell Week, so however young I was, I'm bad with years. I did not have a cell phone, but it was the first time my parents let me like take a phone. I think one of them gave me their cell phone. Okay. But we are not allowed to have our phones during, it's very much a, the way Kyle created this event, it's like like a mental, it's like a retreat. Okay.
Right.
It's a very healthy, such a good for you. It was just so good to get outside of technology and get away from all of that. And you can really dive into yourself, I guess. He would take our phones, no phones during the day, but on weekends and on rest days. So we would have we'd go out and rock climb like 2 days in a row, have a rest day where we would do some team building activity and like clean the campsite. Oh my God. And then 3 days on, and we could have our cell phones on those days, and then 3 days rock climbing, and then a rest day. So like 2 days rest day, 3 days rest day, like that. And the way our camp would work is like, I hope I'm not making this sound like a cult, by the way. This is like a public campsite. This is not a cult. This is a rock climbing trip.
One of the questions,
yeah,
and then we can divert back that I was thinking of is, it probably wasn't just you guys out there, right? Because like you said,
it's a public climb.
So there was probably hundreds of people?
Yeah, and they'd all come and go, and just like us, like we came here, every summer, some of the locals would be like, oh no, there's those damn Team Texas kids again, sending our projects, climbing all the things we want to climb, like we were pretty talented kids, I would say, as a bunch, and it would piss off the older like local people,
Well, they can
But another thing we strongly believed in was leave a place better than you find it. So before we're allowed to leave and go back to our campsite, we'd have to pick up at least one piece of trash that like after we packed up all of our gear. God, that gear is heavy too. Yeah. But yeah.
So on a climbing day, what would that day look like? So you wake up and then.
Is this speaking specifically to that trip
when
or like
when
summer
you're
trips?
at that camp? Yeah.
We'd wake up. You'd be on a team of like 4 people to a team. Someone is on dish duty that morning, or someone's on breakfast duty, and so each of us in our little groups were assigned jobs. And so we would have breakfast, pack up, but it was early. I'm not a morning person, but we had to get up super early.
What time?
And, oh gosh, like 7, I think. Just
be out there.
That's
like
early
4.
to me. Oh, well, sometimes. I mean, there's been days, but okay, I'm not a morning person. That is so early to me.
You know what?
I go to bed at 4. Okay.
I'm not either. I get up at 7, and that is a struggle for me. So I can.
It's a struggle.
Yes, I'm a night person.
So here's how the day plays out, right? Everyone loads in the van. You pack up all of your shit. It's all very heavy. Think of ropes. Think of your heart, everything. We all pile in. Everyone smells like shit. We drive out to the area. Some kids would go to one area, and then some would drive to a different one. We'd have 2 vehicles, and that's where you're going for the day. So once we pick a location, and this is a wall, think one area is like maybe 40 routes, okay? And Kyle would have sort of an agenda for each of us. Like we all start warming up, so we'd go back to back. You kind of have a partner in a way, where I'd belay someone, which belaying is holding the rope for someone, and then we'd alternate and just go back and forth all day. And that's kind of your partner for the day. And you start warming up on a few things. In Kentucky, these are 130 feet tall climbs, so it's very exhausting. And eventually you get to your project, which is the thing that you're trying really, really hard on, and you've failed on, and you're just trying to succeed in it and make it from the bottom to the top without falling. And yeah, that's our day. And then we'd pack up and hike out and go back to camp. And we would make dinner, whoever's on dinner duty that night. We'd have theme nights, like All-American Night was like burgers.
Okay.
We'd do quesadilla night. That was if we ran out of everything else to eat. but that was my favorite, right?
It sounds like a good night.
Mac and cheese night was if everyone climbed really hard that day. Yeah, so it was fun. It was I'm very happy that my childhood was that each summer. It was awesome.
It sounds magical, to be honest.
It's great. And when I got older, when I was like 18, I became a guide for that trip. It became a little bit more established. And so I was the one like taking shifts driving the van from Texas to Kentucky. And I always took the night shift because, like I said, I go to bed at 4 in the morning usually. Night owl, not morning. And I was the one like guiding these kids and seeing them do what I used to do and see how happy it makes them. That makes me very happy. So yeah, it's very good.
That sounds so cool. So
It's very cool.
for your team specifically, was it about like 15 to 16 kids?
It was more. It was a lot.
How
There were a
many?
lot of kids, but on the trip it was probably like 20 of us
Okay.
on the trip.
The weird math I did in my head was 4 kids per team,
Per team,
2
for, like,
vans,
dish duty.
maybe it feeds 8 kids each.
Oh my
8 times
God.
2 is 16. That's where David's little head just went. But
Yeah. And I know this whole thing sounds crazy, but it was just very normal. It was very normal. Like, and all the parents trusted. It's a very good thing. I don't know. It was not creepy in any way.
It didn't
we were
sound
like in this
creepy.
18-passenger van. Okay.
it didn't
Just
sound
making
creepy at
sure.
all. Was it mostly was it a pretty even mix of boys and girls? Or was it more
Actually, it was, yeah. I'd say it
cool.
was pretty perfectly even. Yeah. Not more boys than girls.
Nice.
Yeah. A lot of drama. You know, the younger kid drama.
Right.
We're like, yeah, of course.
Was it almost like family drama though, since you guys were all so
Yes.
close to each other?
Very much so, yes.
And was it same teens almost every year? Did you guys have much turnover on the team?
Yeah, well, it was at the beginning it was the same. But you know, as people get older and they graduate high school and then go to college, then they're not going on these trips anymore,
Right.
usually, unless they're guiding, kind of like what I did. Like I went back and was a guide. Yeah. And then, yeah, I don't know.
So
It was always like a fade in because it would be a 16-year-old would join the team and then that was their first summer trip that summer. So, but they had been on the team for 4 months.
right.
So yeah.
They knew
kinda
you
just fade
guys
in.
and they had
Yeah.
they hadn't had the camp experience, but they got a
Oh,
taste
they gonna learn today, you know. Oh, one time I left my tent open and you share a tent. So me and 2 of my now like best friends, still lifelong, we shared a tent. Morgan and Tara, if you listen to this, I apologize still to this day. I left our rain fly open. This was in Kentucky. And the rain fly keeps the rain out, you know. I accidentally left it open. We came back from a day of climbing. It was pouring down rain. I mean pouring. You can't see. And they're like, "Damn it, Shannon." Like I am shunned from our tent. And I'm like, "Oh, fuck. I'm sorry. Forgive me." But, you know, that shit happens and it's real life and that's how I learned a lot of the values I hold on to still today during those sorts of experiences, like forgiveness and, close the rain fly.
You know, one of the other guys on the podcast was telling me when the pandemic first hit, he found out about this 90-day retreat in, I want to say it was in Utah. This was on Ollie Burke's episode. But essentially, he was just going nuts because of the pandemic. So you live outdoors for 90 days. I don't know if they take your phone or not.
Is this a walk? They do a big walk that you're about to say?
There was a portion where they hiked up a snowy mountain, and that was, he did say that was like the hardest day mentally.
Okay.
Just because not only are you cold, but you're tired and you're wet, but hot at the same time, and you're hungry. And they teach you over the course of the 90 days, they teach you how to live outdoors. So they teach you how to build fires, how to hunt. They live like hunter-gatherers almost for 3 months.
Yeah.
And so as you were talking about the camping and you're like, this sounds weird, I was like, actually, this sounds like normal. Like, I wish that was my childhood. I wish, but I had a good childhood. I'm not doxing my parents or anything, but we spent so much time outdoors, whether it was basketball, hide and seek, laser tag, doorbell ditching, like a whole summer outdoors. That sounds so without your parents.
So I know.
That sounds so nice.
And it was so great. It was so great. You learn a lot, you know, you learn a lot about yourself and you learn how to deal with how you can cope with like difficult situations. God, we've had so many crazy situations on those trips, but it did take a while for my parents to build up the trust, especially after situations with my first coach. So for me, it did start as they allowed me to go on this trip for 2 weeks and then I came back home. So, and I just cried because I'm like, all my friends are there, you know. But then gradually I got to go on the whole thing, you know. So
Only 2 weeks?
I know.
That's
I'm
nothing.
so spoiled.
Come on, Mom and Dad. You better stay for 3 at least.
Let me stay for 2 months.
A month.
Come
How
on.
about I only not go for
It's
2
fine.
weeks? So I stay for the rest of
Right.
it. Let's flip that thing around.
Exactly. Yeah.
How many more times did you compete while you were in high school? Like, was it a ton? Or
I competed a lot. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The first time that I became the national champion, I think I was 14. And I was the national champion. I won every single year after that until I retired, quote unquote. So
How many years was that?
I think that was until in that circuit until I was 19 or 20.
To have a
I don't know.
5-time national champion sitting across from me?
Actually 9 times.
9 times! Oh my God, I'm honored. This is great. Were you like sort of in a way like where other rock climbers like, give us a chance?
I don't know. I don't know. I hate sounding like douchey or bragging or anything. But I do think I reached a point where I was kind of the person to beat, I guess. And what was shocking to me is every other year I compete, and your friend, was it Kirsty? Kirsty. She'll know this name probably, but Sasha DeJulian, like that was someone that I competed against every other year. And she's one of the biggest names in rock climbing, and mad respect to her. We went two very different directions in our lives, but she is incredible. But I competed against her, like she's a competitor. And I was I'm not going to lie and say I wasn't happy when I first beat her, and then I beat her every year after that. And it felt good to not be the one in second.
What do you think it was? Were you just consistent with, not just, let me take that word out of that sentence. Was it consistency? Was it your coach? Was it an amalgamation of all these things? What?
I think it was, a lot of everything. I by no means think I was one of the best rock climbers during these years. I definitely was. But like Sasha could perform, she could climb so much harder outdoors than I could. Then again, our opportunity situation was a little different, and family finances and everything gets in the way. Like I couldn't travel as much as her. Anyway, in competing, I was never nervous. I could just show up for a competition and know like whatever happens, happens. But as you start winning more and more, it's almost like you build up an expectation of yourself, if you know what I mean. And I started feeling pressure, but it was always entirely my own that I'm putting on myself. But my coach has expressed to me that I somehow have the ability, even if I'm so nervous, like I could be throwing up in isolation, it's called isolation before you walk out to climb at a competition, or ISO. I'd be in ISO when I started getting nervous. I'd get very, very nervous. And he said, you have the ability, the moment you touch the wall, like the moment you get on the wall, you're going to just know you can win. Kyle has, my coach has always said, I have the ability to do that, to turn it off. And I just have that confidence that shows up on the spot, but leading up to it, I have no confidence at all. So nervous. And then at Worlds, I choke. It's like watching two different climbers, but it's me each time, which sucks. But yeah, I had all the confidence in the world after my first national championship. As I became an adult, got very nervous, but still had that confidence once I was on the wall. It's like, that's my happy place. I feel very comfortable when I'm rock climbing. So I go into it knowing what I'm here to do, and if I'm about to fall, I tell myself that one more hold, just grab one more in case that is the game-changing one. You have to at least try and go for it. I could fall 30 feet, but just one more.
Yeah.
And that was a difference between me winning my very first nationals and not winning. So, which is one more hold. Then I ended up getting 5 more holds by sticking one more hold. Yeah. So I was good at that, I would say. And training helped a lot too.
Have you ever heard of the alter ego?
Yes.
Do you feel like you had one? Did you ever pretend like you were someone else as soon as your hand touched that wall, where Shannon sort of disappeared and so and so?
Well, I wouldn't call it an alter ego per se, because it was definitely just me. But yeah, it's just something clicks into gear, and yeah, I am kind of like a different person, I guess, when I'm on the wall. It is very, very focused, and yeah. If it is an alter ego, I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah.
I do strongly believe I have like almost a second voice in my head all the time. And the ability to silence that is so important, as I mentioned earlier. But in all aspects of life, I think it's very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been known to be very self-deprecating. So yes, I am your own biggest critic, or however they say it. Yeah, it's very true for me.
Are you self-deprecating about your rock climbing skills, or self-deprecating about everything but?
I think just everything.
Including your rock climbing skills.
Yes, well, yes. I had one bad competition when I was older that it took me a step back, I would say, confidence-wise. And it was, the voice in my head really turned up then. It was not good.
What happened?
I was at Worlds in Scotland, and it was kind of like my year. This was the year if I was going to make the top 3 in the World Championships. Like, it wasn't in the Olympics at the time. So picture this being like the Olympics,
okay.
I guess. There's like an opening ceremony and all of that stuff. I go out there, and it was my year, and everything was good. But again, I had developed this nervousness about me that I had not had before. I had not experienced this before. I think I'm like 18 at this point. And I go out there, and I'm climbing, and you cannot grab the quick draw, which is the little metal hook that hangs from the wall. And I'm climbing, and I'm about to clip the rope. You clip as you go. Sorry, it's very detailed, but you clip as you go. I'm about to clip. All of a sudden, I don't know what happened. I panicked. I freaked out, and I just like grabbed the quick draw. It was like I dropped the rope and grabbed the quick draw. Immediate disqualification. Like, I'm like my dad and mom had flown out to Scotland with me for this. Like, I'd been training for this forever. It was very just gone in an instant. That sucked. So actually won nationals the year after that. I qualified for Worlds again that next year, but for the first time ever, I turned down my invitation to compete in the World Cup because I was so traumatized by that moment. So it was devastating. I was very shocked. Everyone was shocked. I mean, one of the U.S. coaches couldn't make eye contact with me when I was being lowered, so that sucked. Yeah, but you live and you learn, so it's okay. I've forgiven myself for that.
Was there anything to forgive?
I think I just blame myself,
Yeah.
That's that negative talk.
Do you have any regrets about turning down the invitation the following year?
Yes, I have so much. I have so many. It was in Austria, first of all. I missed out a chance to go to Austria. That sucked.
Austria, schmaustria.
Oh, yeah, just like, who wants to go to the most beautiful place? Yeah, but I turned that one down. No, but that was also like I was in college, and it was, I was just I was exploring other things, and yeah.
Hey, Thad, come hang out with us, buddy.
You want to come here?
I don't know what's stressing you out, but it's not over here. It's just good vibes in this part of the room.
Hi, baby.
I don't know if you guys could hear. He got upset about something. Probably a squirrel.
He was mad that I turned down the
That you
climbing. Yeah. No, but it was It was actually kind of good to take a break, I guess. I mean, I've been competing my entire life, so maybe just one break, maybe it was a good thing.
Did you get an invitation to go to World the following year?
Yeah, I did. That was in Singapore. That was fun.
And
that
you
was
went?
a lot of fun. Yes, I did. And that was the last Worlds that I competed in. Yes.
So you would have been
great.
like 20?
That was when, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was amazing.
How'd you do?
I did all right. I think I got 12th. I don't even know.
Okay.
I don't know what place I got.
How
tied for 11th. I don't know.
How many climbers are showing up to compete in a world competition? About?
You get, so the way it worked back then, it was 4 females. It's females. It's females and males. Like they're 2 separate categories. So I don't compete against the men. And there's the top 4 from each country.
So it could be, I mean, there's a lot of countries.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, yeah. There are a lot of countries. So I don't know.
Well,
I mean, think of like 80. It was like, I think it was always in like the 80s or 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a lot of people. Competition's rough out there, you know.
And how do they determine who gets first? Is it speed? Is it technique? What goes into it?
Okay, yes, we're going to get into this. So there's different types of climbing, right? Different types of competition. One is speed, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a head-to-head race. That's its own thing. Then there is bouldering competition, which is the short walls. The style is very powerful. Like a lot of retired gymnasts do bouldering. It's very like powerful and kind of acrobatic like that. And there's no rope. They're shorter walls. And then there is sport climbing or rope climbing, which is the really tall, like 70-foot walls. And to me, my primary thing was sport climbing, the rope climbing. But I was the national champion in all 3. So that hence the 9. So I would do speed. I hated speed climbing. I have so much respect for people that are just incredible at speed climbing and pursue speed climbing. I don't mean any hatred towards speed climbers, but I personally did not like speed climbing. I really enjoy the creativity, and it's almost a puzzle in real life. The problem solving of sport climbing and bouldering, I really enjoy. So those are my 2 favorites.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
With
different.
the speed climbing, it takes the puzzle element out of it.
It's a little different. Yeah.
Because you're just,
different.
It's
It's creative in its own way. Yeah.
Is the sport climbing, is that timed?
You have a time limit. I don't know what it is in today's day and age, but back then it was 8 minutes. So if you were still on the wall after 8 minutes, then you get called off and you're done. Like you are lowered to the ground.
Automatically disqualified.
Not disqualified, but wherever you're at. So think of each little handhold as 1 point.
Okay.
So this is how I try to explain it because it's very confusing. So whoever, you have one chance, right? You start on the ground, you are tied up, you go up, and wherever you fall, whatever the last hold you're touching or holding on to, like that's like 40. I got 40 points.
Right.
Let's say. Yeah. Yeah.
So you go all the way to Singapore or wherever it is for 8 minutes. I mean, obviously, you're probably getting some food and seeing some other sights.
Well, there's rounds, though. It's not just one route. You climb like 6 or 7. You climb, it's a cumulative thing that you do. So let me explain competition really quick.
Yeah.
For rope climbing, because it is kind of fascinating to me, and I'm sure it's different today, but how it was for me in my experience. You show up at the gym, and when you arrive, you find out where you fall in the running order. Maybe I go first, which would suck, but you whatever. You're sitting, you and all of your competitors are behind like a curtain because no one's allowed to see how anyone else is doing, right?
Oh, okay.
So you don't know how anyone else has done. You have no idea. That's why it's always important to go for one more hold. One more.
Right.
Right. So you're in ISO. Then at a certain time, they take your entire category. So me and all these girls would be brought out, and you are given 4 minutes to look at the wall. In that 4 minutes, you're allowed to, I call it reading. You're reading a route. You're coming up with a map, a plan. It's like if you pick a destination that you're going to drive to, you need directions, right? So you're going to come up with your plan. Reading a route is much like that. It's very similar to that. And so you have 4 minutes to do so. And there will be 4 different routes. So you get to do that at each one. All of you go back into isolation, and then it begins. Like the first climber goes. And then you go out, climb the wall to the best of your ability. When you fall, you're lowered, you're done. Then you go back to your chair. You face the audience. Terrifying. While the next person is climbing behind you. And then it rotates. So it rotates. And you can, like, I would always stare out into the crowd, and I would see where their eyes are going to kind of gauge, like, okay, she got pretty high. Like, I really need to get to that point at least. You know, there's little cues like that. And then you go to the second route, and you do that for 4 routes. So it's exhausting. Keep in mind, that's like 70 feet 4 times. And, yeah, and they get progressively harder and harder. And they add up all the points at the end. And then you make it into the semifinal round, and you do it all again.
In the same day?
In the final round.
Or is it usually, back then, was it 2 or 3 days?
It used to be the qualifying round, which was all 4 on that day. And then the second day, it would be semifinals and finals. And semifinals was shortened. I think that was 3 climbs. I don't actually remember.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was over the span. Eventually, it was over the span of 3 days. And then, yeah, you just hope you win.
What kind of mind game is that where they make
know.
you stand in front of, stand or sit?
Well, you sit in the chair.
Okay,
But,
yeah,
and
that's
then
right.
but then they come up and they give you the rope, and you're still facing the audience, right? You stand up to tie your knot into your harness, and you're waiting. They do like a 1-minute countdown type thing, and then it's like, ready, your clock starts now. When the clock starts, you have 60 seconds to be on the wall, or else you're disqualified. So I have 60 seconds to try to look at the route again and try and remember what my plan was. And then I go up and I actually start climbing it and doing it.
Wow.
Yeah, so you plan, it is such a, I know people think climbing is a workout. Like, sure, it is a good physical activity to do, but it is such a mental game. It is such a mental game. So much of it goes into the mental aspect.
Now, when I think of a rock wall, I think of the ones that, like, we have at my gyms back in California where they're made for kids, you know, and so it's most of the grooves are coming out of the wall.
Yeah.
But in these climbing gyms, especially the ones for World, would they? When I was watching the 2 documentaries I did, there is times where they were putting their hands in like these crevices. So would they try to get the wall to emulate an actual like mountain or rock formation, or was it they would?
Well, so, I mean, I guess some will, but that's not very standard. Like that wouldn't be. They've invented. There's this thing called the volume, which is another thing that adds more dimension and more angles to come out of the wall. It is very difficult to drill into a wall, I would say.
That makes sense.
But the handholds, you can create these sort of more natural feeling, natural looking handholds, I guess, and textures. Yeah.
Wild.
I know. There's so much that goes into it. I could talk all day about this. But my dog verbally attacks people.
Oh boy. Like barking?
No cussing them out. In his own language.
I might have to slip
Yes,
that in.
yes.
That was hilarious. So before we move on from, and we can stay on this topic, we're in no rush as we just said. From competitions, is there anything else that you wanna reminisce on?
Oh gosh, I don't know. There's so much. Wait, Wait, time out.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, because
Are we talking about Is this about what I just said?
No.
Or is this just about
right
in general?
before our bathroom break? You said you were like, I could ramble about this forever. So I don't. If you had, and then I forced a pause on us because I had to use the bathroom. So that's what I was alluding to. Is if there is, I felt like I sort of cut you off in the middle when you were on a roll, but I was like, I really have to go.
Oh yeah, sorry. Okay, got it. Continue. We're good.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, sure. I would like everyone, if there's any climber out there who's listening, I want everyone to know that it is okay if it's not something that you pursue as a career, if it has felt like one for you in the past. There are ways to make it work as just, you can do it as your passion. Like I reached a really weird fork in a road, so to say, where I didn't know how I could make climbing into a full-time career. You know, it wasn't really an option at the time. Well, it was kind of an option for me, but it's life after climbing is not so bad. Like, it is great. You can still climb.
He definitely did. That's honestly the only reason this candle is lit.
It's okay.
And apparently,
I wanted to make sure you knew it wasn't me.
And it was not me either.
Sorry, I just had to put that out there.
As dog owners, I think we both can recognize a dog.
I think we gave each other kind of a look.
Yeah, I just need stronger candles. Like, I thought my 3-wick over here would do the job,
but totally fine. This is so much better than my dog. Trust me. Oh, honey. Oh my God.
And I thought I was interrupting the podcast. This guy over here with his farts.
Look at him resting his head on the wire. Yes. So rock climbing. I reached that weird like juxtaposition of like, well, it's my thing and it's what I'm good at, but do I want climbing to feel like a job to me?
Right.
And the answer for me was no. I don't want climbing to ever feel like a job. I want to enjoy it. I'm a rare breed of rock climber that did not reach a point of burnout. I've never really felt burnt out. Even after so many years, I've just always loved it so much. I did take about a year off right when I moved to Austin for my first job. And after I graduated college at Texas A&M, moved to Austin, took about a year off. And then it was like, I don't know how the stars aligned this way, but thank God they did. Austin built their first their super gym. It was a super bouldering gym, and it's amazing. And I've been a member there since day one. And I felt like, okay, that's a sign that I need to go back and I need to like dive back into this because it is something I've been so passionate about forever. And I really lucked out with that, like time and place, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah,
What's it called?
Austin Bouldering Project.
I think I have a couple friends. I think there's a couple, none that are on the wall at the moment because these pictures rotate. But I think there's like a good handful of 5 to 10 guests that go, and they are not people that were going to world competitions, but that does seem to be this is a great question for you. Mm-hmm. Is this a sport that is growing as just like a recreational or a different form of exercising outside a traditional gym like a Gold's or a 24? Mm-hmm. Does it seem like it's becoming more and more like, what's it called when something just becomes like normal? There's a word I'm looking for.
I know what you're trying to
streamlined, maybe not streamlined.
Like a
it's the audience is screaming at us right now.
It's
let's just go with. Is it something that like it's growing in popularity?
Yeah,
it's
I think it starts with a C. Yes, it's becoming a new. Oh my God, it's gonna bother me. Yeah, it is. Yes.
Whatever.
Okay, sorry. I don't know.
We're not letting this word derail this episode.
Anyway, yes, it will not derail this episode. Yes, but it is becoming very normal, and not just for people that are actually training for competition. Yes, it is kind of, you see all types of people there, you know. For a moment in time, I got frustrated because it was always so crowded. And I strongly encourage everyone that wants to try climbing at least once in their life. Like, I encourage that entirely. So what I'm about to say, don't be offended. But for a moment, it felt like the Tinder date capital of Austin. And that kind of drove me crazy.
Really?
Yeah. Like, what a place to take a date. Yeah, I know.
It's not a bad idea.
I know. It's
Don't
not a
trap
bad
me
idea.
for
No, it's
saying
not a
that.
bad idea. It's not a bad idea at all. I don't think it is. It's just, if you're someone that is like a regular at the gym, if you're a regular, it might be kind of frustrating.
Right.
But like, I get over yourself and get off your high horse. And who cares? I'm always happy to see beginners at the gym. If they're psyched, I'm psyched. You could fall on the first move of the easiest route at the gym, and you will have people there that are that you've never met before, audibly cheering you on. That's just the community. The community is such a good community of people looking out for each other and supporting each other. And that's another thing that I think sets climbing apart from other sports and activities. Sure, we're all, inherently competitive, I guess. But we all just want each other to do the best they can.
I like that
even if
community.
it's just a little. Yeah,
That's
it's very
really cool.
It's really great. I go to the gym almost every day, and I go by myself. And even if I haven't planned to meet up with anyone, I feel comfortable knowing that someone there is either gonna I don't know, cheer me on or support me or give me beta or we're just there to have a good time and just there to, we all have a common goal in a way. And it's to have fun, work hard, and get better.
What does that mean to give another climber beta?
Beta, this is one of those words. Okay, so beta is what I was describing earlier, like reading a route, coming up with your strategy, your plan. Beta is your plan. So me and you might climb the exact same thing, but we might do it in two completely different ways. And so I have my beta and you have your beta in a way. And if you're watching someone climb and they're struggling, you can offer them beta. Like, I could offer you advice. Like, here's what I would do in your situation.
Yeah.
And then usually when I give them beta, they end up doing it. But, not all the time. But I'm really into beta.
The ones who don't take your advice probably don't know who you are.
No one knows who I am.
No.
No one knows who I am. I don't need people to know who I am.
Well,
I'm not, I don't know. My coworkers are shocked when they learn that I'm even a climber. They are mind blown when they find out my history. I've just never really been I don't need that. I would love it. It'd be great. But
so one thing you're very good at, and hopefully you find comfort in the statement that I'm about to give,
God.
is that I research all of my guests. And I was not frustrated, but in your intro that I read, I wanted to be able to say, this is a 9 times world attendee. And you did such a good job at that not being online at all. It doesn't exist. I was on Google, LinkedIn, YouTube. I went on to I went onto the USA Climbing website. I couldn't find anything about you. And so when I was getting ready to write your intro, I was like, how do I do this in a way that pays her some compliments, but at the same time, then I was like, maybe she sucks and she never won anything. No, I'm kidding.
No.
Kidding.
I genuinely, I was about to ask, were you concerned that I wasn't all I was hyped up to be? Because that's a valid concern.
No, because of our phone call. Because when we
true.
talked on the phone, for me, one of the things I look for in a potential guest is this someone that I can have a fun conversation with?
Yeah.
Am I going to enjoy the conversation? Is David going to like what they bring to the table? And if a single person never downloads this episode, well, I have considered it a productive use of my time. And after we hung up, the answer to that question was yes.
Love that. Yay. Oh, that makes me so happy.
Good.
Oh, good. Okay.
No,
good.
it was more, I didn't think that I was totally making a joke. It was more, I was impressed because with so many of my guests, to take these guys, because they were just so recently, there was a couple times where Austin looked at me and he was like, how did you know, like, very personal things about his family. And I don't think we realize how much of our life is online.
Right.
And so I was impressed that you were able to you had 800 posts on your Instagram, but so much of it was just photography. These are my friends. Like, I found your sister's name. I couldn't even find your brother's name.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
and maybe if I tried harder, but the
Well, no,
podcast
it's
wasn't
like
about
very...
him. So
Well, yeah. And I think something to keep in mind also, I mean, I'm very humble about these things. I don't like to brag about them.
yeah.
And my husband thinks I'm insane. My husband thinks I'm crazy. Like, you should be shouting that from the rooftops or something. But back in the day, like, social media wasn't as big as it is now, I would say. Yeah, a lot of the stuff wasn't written on the web. A lot of it wasn't, like the USA Climbing, how they have it all documented now. And I'm pretty sure you can look up an athlete's name and see, like, their scorecard, so to speak.
Sure.
That didn't exist back in my day,
Yeah.
you know. So it's a shame. I kind of missed a specific window there. I was kind of on the edge of retirement when it became a very, like, well-known and well-documented thing. Yeah. But I did have my sponsors back in the day, and I had all of that. You'll find none of that online. I just don't really have a reason to go and write that somewhere, you know?
I think
Unless I'm living in my past, which some people might think, you
Right.
know? And that kind of builds that imposter syndrome that so many people feel, like I feel sometimes. I'm like, am I just living in my past by going to the climbing gym every day? Or if I were to make a post about previous successes that I've had, is that a bad thing? So I just don't.
I think the thing that I admire about you now that I know what you've accomplished is that one of my qualms with social media is, like, are we so busy going on this vacation so we can post about it? Are we forgetting to just enjoy the vacation? And for you, you got to go to all of these camping trips and all of these competitions, and you are sitting here, a happy, fulfilled, joyful person sitting across from me without, and you put zero of it online. You just lived it. You did
Yeah.
life as it was supposed to be. I'm not defined by my Instagram account. I'm defined by, for you, as you were talking about earlier, like, our identity is like, when I go to networking events, and I'm almost like tempted not to bring up my day job, be like, oh, I'm a podcaster. I get to sit across from all these different kinds of people and ask them all kinds of questions, and, like, that's a privilege and an honor. And I'm not like, and for you, same thing. Like, we just get to do it for the enjoyment of doing it.
If it brings you joy. Yeah, exactly. And the things that bring you joy don't have to define you, you know. It's yeah. And maybe some of those things are better kept for you and just for you to enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to shift gears here a little bit.
Okay.
I have this delusional belief that every podcast that we record is meant for somebody. That there's somebody younger than you going through something in their life, and that this episode, your episode, it has to find them. It just has to.
Oh, I love this. Okay.
And so I want to talk to you for a minute or a couple minutes, the dark side of climbing.
Okay.
And there's a couple of things that you brought up, that the ones that I thought were the most interesting, or at least to me, and we can take this any way you want as well.
Okay.
But some of the things we talked about on the phone and over text and email was disordered eating, body image, and weight regulation.
Oh, yes.
So how did these factor into, from your experience as a climber, how did these factor either into your life? If not your life, did you see them affecting people on your team, women that were maybe not on your team but close to you? How did these topics come up?
Oh, absolutely. I did see it in some people around me. So I've experienced it that way. And I believe it has it's gotten worse a lot in the last, it's just digressed in the last maybe even just 5 years. From what I've seen, this is kind of my perspective on it and just from where I'm standing. And if there's any climbers out there, I highly recommend you watch the documentary called Light or The Light. It's fairly recent, and that kind of opened a lot of people's eyes in the climbing community on what exactly is going on. I know that there are some actions being taken. I don't know if these regulations have been signed off on yet, but like just let's say you're trying to qualify for the Olympics in rock climbing. They are working towards setting a certain BMI thing. Like you have to be above, you have to meet your weight qualifications, basically. If you were to break it down, and I hate saying this, like as someone who is naturally very small, I hate using weight as almost a tool in your climbing ability. But I think we could all agree that it, in some ways, it does help you to get higher on a wall. I mean, you're lifting your body weight. If you weigh less, that seems like you would do better.
Yeah.
Weight and performance, I think I'm so against those two things. I do not believe in relying on your weight in order to perform. And I think that has been a struggle for a lot of young athletes. I really, really hope that everyone knows, like, you can still perform so well just being who you are, eating what you want, and just enjoying climbing. And I don't know, you can succeed in other ways. I myself struggled with an eating disorder, but in a different way. It was not for performance. It just it happens to be that I am a rock climber, but this was in my downtime in college, and it was not related to climbing. However, the way I figured out what a calorie was in the first place was when I first got into running while I was training for a World Cup. And the moment I learned what a calorie was, it kind of like went downhill from there. And it really affected me for a few years there. It's not good. And there's so many resources out there for anyone struggling with that. And just don't rely on weight for performance. That's all I can say. And everyone's just so beautiful. You don't need to do it. I fell into an eating situation. Again, not performance-based, but it was kind of that negative self-talk of like not deserving food, basically. It was, and this is when I was not climbing. I was in college. I was super depressed. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not crying.
Like I said, I'm only asking this question for maybe the young girl that's listening to this episode right now, because I believe she is. Did it, and I also want to make sure I only ask important questions.
No, you're good.
Why do you think you were depressed?
Oh gosh, it was a snowball effect.
Was it almost like you were so high from all the competitions? And
no, not really that. And it was not even really about that at all, I would say. It was, so I went to college freshman year, right? Don't really know anyone, but I had a long-term boyfriend at the time, and that did not end well at all. It was a cheating situation, I'll say that. But that didn't cause it either. It was almost, but after that, I did kind of, instead of being angry about that situation or at him, I was really looking inward, like, what's wrong with you? You know, like, it was like me, like, I failed, you know, and what's wrong with me to have caused that to happen? So that was the start, I believe. And then, you make one mistake. One time I lost my car keys at the bar in college. like that I ate away at myself with that, pun intended. Yeah, it's just like you make one mistake and then the next and the next, and the snowball just builds, and you're just like, it's hard, but you have to show yourself grace.
Yeah.
You have to. It took me too long to realize that, but I did. So, yeah.
And the way
you have to forgive yourself.
And the way you sort of took it out on yourself was telling you the story that didn't deserve.
It was on, yeah.
Nourishment.
It was I didn't deserve food. Yeah. And I think that's you can't assume someone is trying to be thin. Maybe that's not their goal. You know, in my case, it was like torture, which might be worse. I think they're kind of the same thing, but yeah, I was just really angry at myself all the time. And also, I'm a designer, I'm an artist. It's very, that's such a beautiful space to be in, and beautiful type of person to be, but it's also gets back into that self-criticism of like, you know, nothing's ever perfect, but that's what art is. Yeah. And I was studying art in school, and that's what I was doing. And I also missed my old team. I was sad about that. It was just, yeah, kind of just
and then another amalgamation.
Things, you know, it's like, oh my God, yeah. And, you know, if one thing goes wrong, it kind of like sets you off on this, like, I don't know, it's hard on yourself.
So when things started to turn around, was it gradual, or did you have any kind of moment where it...
When I became happy again? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Kind of, yeah. So I graduated from A&M. I had somehow landed a job that gave me a sense of hope, just getting a job at all, but it being in Austin. And I moved here, and I didn't really know anyone, even though I'm a Texan. I just didn't know anyone. And I felt good. I felt refreshed in a weird way. Like starting fresh, kind of, yeah. But I don't know. I didn't have those negative thoughts as much anymore. Yeah.
Did you date at all during that time, or were you taking sort of a break from that? You did?
I did date a lot. Yeah. I did a lot. Yeah, I did. It's funny, though. So I moved here for my job, right? So this is my first job out of school. My first day at work, they walk me to my desk to show me where I'm going to be sitting. And I walked past this very attractive-looking, somewhat Asian man. He's now my husband. But I had a crush on him for like 3 years before I ever talked to him.
Really?
But I dated during those 3 years. But it was just like this guy in the sales department, you know? Yeah. And
what a story.
I know. And so that's the whole thing. And Koji, love you. But he was like my office crush, you know? Yeah. And so, yeah, we met at work. But but me and him didn't speak, like I said, for like 3 years. And then dated during that time. It was fine. The climbing gym was built, so I got to climb again and kind of rebuild some strength. I was very underweight. And now I've somehow built a career for myself. I climb almost every day, which is my favorite thing in the world. I have a husband who I adore, and he adores me. And yeah, life's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah.
I have one more question. Well,
okay.
I have a lot of more questions for you.
Yes, okay.
But on this topic specifically, like I said, I really do believe that someone will hit play and that this episode will be for them. So before we leave this moment, would you be willing to look into that camera directly and speak to whoever this is that this podcast is made for, that's in the middle of their own depression, eating disorder?
I'm going to cry.
Please do. It could...
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hi, whoever you are. I want you to know that any mistake that you are telling yourself is a mistake that you have made, you can show yourself grace, and you are loved, and you deserve love. You deserve the kind of love that, the person next to you deserves, that anyone deserves. So, yeah, show yourself some grace. Things happen. Yeah. Oh, fuck.
Let me grab your tissue real quick.
Thank you. I might have to redo that.
Can I give you a hug?
Sure, yeah.
Not tissues, but I have paper towels. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course, of course. I can't believe I'm crying.
Here you go. I bet you weren't expecting this when you showed up tonight, were you?
No, how dare you? It's my
Sorry.
therapy session. Maybe I should redo that, though. No.
You can if you want,
Yeah.
but I thought it was beautiful. It was very heartfelt.
Okay, then we'll keep it.
Let's keep it.
Is my makeup, like, smearing all over? Should I fix my makeup? Is it okay?
I think it's okay, but if you want to
Okay.
take a break, we can.
No, I don't really care.
All right, no, let's keep going.
Okay. From the top. Boop.
From the top. So I did want to ask you how you and your husband met, but you sort of answered that. I thought for sure it
yeah.
was going to be something rock climbing related. So
It does tie in.
Okay.
Actually. Okay. So, my office crush. Should I move this?
yeah, turn it perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my office crush for 3 years, I was way too shy, way too nervous to talk to him. I had dated, I was doing Bumble or whatever it was at the time, all of that. And, but my office crush never left my mind. And it got to the point where a coworker of mine forced a fake meeting for the three of us.
Okay.
Where, like, I was not necessary in this meeting. Why would I need to meet with the guy from the sales? We worked at a startup tech company. I was a designer. He's in sales. And I still did not say a word during that. I was too nervous. I had such a crush on him. And then at the company holiday party, another friend of mine who we worked with physically shoved me into Koji. His name is Koji. And again, he tells me now, he's like, I thought you hated me because I was trying to talk to you, like, after you bumped into me. And I still didn't say a word, too nervous. Well, one day, we did talk at the office a little bit. It's like, oh my God, we finally talked to each other. And I left and got back to my apartment. And guess who I matched with on Bumble that day?
Koji.
It was Koji.
Oh, okay, Dad.
The first thing he said to me was, I saw that you are really into rock climbing. I think that's so cool. I would love if you would take me rock climbing sometime. So let me backtrack a little bit here. Previous boyfriend told me straight to my face, why would I ever go rock climbing with you? Why would I want to do anything that I already know you're better at than me?
What?
So that was what I was used to, okay? And here comes this guy who I've had a crush on for 3 years, and he's like, I saw that you're into climbing, like an interest of yours. Would you take me with you? And I'm just like, oh my God, absolutely, let's go. So we went rock climbing. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And we're married, so.
That mascot is a douchebag, if I'm allowed to say that.
No, you are.
That's
Oh
such
my
an
God.
interesting concept. I'm trying to think if I've ever had someone I dated that invited me to do something that I knew they would be better at. I
Yeah,
don't think
like-
that's happened to me yet, but if I did, that's not the frame I would put it through. I'd just be
Right.
like, yeah, okay.
And at least show interest. I don't know. Yeah, like
That-
do anything but completely shut it out. Like at
Right.
least try it. And I had dated that guy for like, I think that one was 2 years. Like try it in that amount of time. You have so many opportunities to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if it just makes your significant other happy, just show up. That's all you have to do.
Does he still climb by chance? Whether it's every half?
My husband?
Yeah.
Not really.
That's fair.
He
I was just
climbed. He climbed a
curious.
lot. He got so into it. Like we climbed together a lot. He's very supportive. Also, I mean, again, I climb like every day after work. And who's at home cleaning and taking care of the dog? He's amazing. Koji is such a godsend for me. And but yeah, he used to play baseball and he had to have shoulder surgery early on in our relationship. Hasn't really been the same since then. So less climbing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gotten very into running, so which I also love to do. Yeah, but he goes with me every now and then. He used to go with me a lot. Now it's occasionally. Once we got married, he's like, I don't need to prove myself anymore
Yeah.
in rock climbing. So
Was there a a story worth telling around your guys' engagement?
Oh, it was epic. Oh my God.
Because
yeah, kind of. There was.
So today when you texted me what time you were going to arrive, I was like, okay, I have a little bit more time to scan because you post a lot. So I hadn't gone through your entire Instagram. So then I caught a few pictures and I was like, okay, this happened near 2020. There are some interruptions. So what,
Mm-hmm.
oh, sorry.
No. It's totally fine.
Tell us the engagement story.
Engagement story?
Yeah.
So we did 3 weeks abroad together. We went to Amsterdam, which was so fun. And then I got to pick the next two locations that we went to. And I guess he had been plotting a proposal for like 6 months, and he kind of like hinted at Lake Como in Italy, which is just the most beautiful place on earth. Really, it really is. Lake, mountains. It checks every box. Well, we got there, and I did not know he was planning to propose. But I did ask him before the trip. I was like, do I need to get my hair done? Are you about to propose? He goes, Shannon, God damn it. I lose everything. You think I would bring the most expensive piece of jewelry I ever buy in my life abroad? Like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, touche, you do lose everything, so no. You're probably not proposing, I guess, but I was so mad. And then we got to Italy, and he proposed to me. Here's the story. Here's the proposal story. He was in such a grumpy mood that morning, and I was like, how are you possibly so angry? It's the most beautiful place on earth. Like, go for a walk. I need you out of this Airbnb, or this Vrbo. Sorry, I work for Vrbo, not Airbnb. Get out. Go for a walk. Or no, he needed to go for a walk to cool down. Really, he was sneaking away to call the photographer, my mom, my sister. He was calling all these people because there was an extreme storm warning on our phones. And he's like, fuck, I paid all this money for a videographer, photographer to come out, and I'm proposing to her tomorrow. But this is going to be like a, terrible storm.
How big of a storm are we talking?
Huge.
Like
the weather warning kind, like popping up on your phone.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that.
Not
that
to be ignored or taken
and
lightly.
he's like, that. So now I know that's why he was such a grump that morning, because he was like, what do I do? Because in that moment, it was a beautiful, sunny day. Beautiful moment. So he's like having this internal debate. I don't know any of this, by the way. I have no idea. I just think he's just pissing me off. But he's like, he's having this internal debate. Do I do it now, even though I have a photographer flying here tomorrow? Like, what do I do? Calling my parents. It's like 3 a.m. in the U.S. They don't answer. And he ultimately decided to do it that day. So it was even more authentic. I had no idea. We had been doing a very, very funny, to us, video montage. I don't know if y'all have seen that famous traveling Instagram TikTok couple where it's like the backhand, like the picture of like her hand and she's like traveling or whatever. And they're holding hands.
Yep.
So we were I had this funny idea. I'm like, in each of the countries we go to, can we take one? But like in Amsterdam, I'll be handing you a joint. And then so in each country, I'd be doing a different, it'd be a funny thing. And in Italy, it was my sunglasses, and or he's handing them to me. And so we were setting up to do that and did it just on his iPhone like we had been filming the whole time. And instead of sunglasses, it was a ring. And I thought he was fucking with me. I was like, oh my God, wait, really? And that was the best moment. I think I blacked out after that because I've just never been so happy or at peace in that. I was so happy. It was amazing.
Did you almost not believe him just because of he was grumpy that morning, or an accumulation of all of the aspects, or what threw you off?
It just felt too perfect.
Oh.
I was like, there's no way this is my life. There's no way this is real. I was like, there's no way that ring is real. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. My little baby.
It's a nice ring. I've seen
Thank
it.
you.
I've seen it. I definitely noticed it. I was like, that
Oh,
thing's
really?
awesome. Yeah.
Koji, good job.
Well done, Koji.
Yeah, but it was very special. I'm kind of glad the photographers weren't there.
Oh, so they didn't make it.
they made it the next day, and it was raining. They showed up, and this worked out perfect because I was sobbing hysterically when he proposed. Like, I looked like shit, let's be honest. You're just so emotional in that moment and so happy. It's tears of joy, obviously, but I'm glad I had a day to enjoy it, just him and I. And then since he had already paid for these amazing, it was this couple photographer, video people, they were mad at him, but for video purposes. We got to do our engagement shoot the next day, and I got to be fresh and still on cloud nine and all the adrenaline from it was great. Yeah. And it turned out beautifully. So
are some of those pictures on your Instagram?
They're all over it.
Yeah. I think
those are from that rainy day, the day after he proposed.
Of those. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
What time of year was this? Or what year? May of 2019?
I think so.
Because I think I saw something about how the pandemic was interrupting your guys'... Because you had a couple posts about, day 536. Not like anyone's counting, but day 837.
I was getting so over it at this point. I'm like, we explored all options, like eloping, like all the, everything that everyone... I know I'm not the only... I'm one of many people that had the COVID wedding situation, but our original wedding date was September 19th, 2020.
Okay.
Everything booked, and we always wanted a long engagement. So, excuse me. We wanted a long engagement, and we did not anticipate a global pandemic to add time to that. So it was like, oh my God, why did we wait so long? Now it's gonna be super long. Don't know what's happening. And it was honestly, it was just very stressful for us. I know some people made it look very easy. Or
I think they faked it till they maked it.
I think they did. I know I did. I faked it. If you look on my Instagram and you think we were happy during that time, we were not. That's a lie. We were not. No, we were happy, but it was just I don't know. It's when any sort of plan goes awry and you've paid for it or funded it. I guess our proposal in hindsight was like a prequel to all of this, actually.
So the pandemic was because of you. The
pandemic, yeah. My bad. Sorry.
When did you end up getting married? What?
October 16th, 2021. Why don't I remember my wedding date?
It's
2021.
Honestly, 2020 and 2021 sort of meshed.
It's all a blur.
It really, I I feel like 2024 is when I'm starting to get out of we're finally post-pandemic.
We are.
Where it was pre, and then pandemic definitely lingered into 2022.
Yeah.
But then in 2023 I got to Austin. For me, actually, I feel like pandemic sort of ended because when I got to Austin, there is no one wearing masks. There were still pockets in California where people were masked up. Mm-hmm. So when I got out here and I was driving through town, I was like, thank God. There's one person wearing a mask. And so, but yeah, no, it wasn't just 2020. There was a 2 to 2.5, 3 year period that was just like a black hole of fuckery.
Yes, absolutely. And if you remember early on, when was it? Did it hit March 2020 or was that 2019?
It's 2020.
2020. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Then okay. So we closed on our house in Austin 2 weeks before the pandemic reached Austin. If we had lived in our, little 1-bedroom apartment with our dog, the three of us, mm-hmm. and we're both working from home, we both still work from home full time to this day. I don't know if the wedding would have happened.
I mean,
but
was
thank
it
God
about
we
this
closed
size?
It was smaller than this.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, and we have a lab, and we're but we're on the second floor too, and it was just, it's just hard, and especially you're trying to plan a wedding with another human. You're trying to coordinate so many moving parts. I know everyone does it, or most people at some point in their life, and everyone goes through it, but wedding planning is not easy. It should be, but whoever said it was fun is a liar.
Just out of curiosity, as someone who hopes to be engaged one day,
yes.
Why did you guys want a long engagement? Originally, back when the world was normal.
Get this, that was totally my call, and I just thought it would be, since I'm a really bad planner, I'm very unorganized, I'm just being honest with myself here, I thought it would be less stressful.
backfired.
The irony. Oh my God. Not the case. But yeah.
Who could have predicted, though? Literally none of us could have predicted.
No one could have predicted it.
No.
And like I said, everything was booked and planned and good to go. But, you know, a global pandemic shows up and here we are. And everyone else going through that around me, like they had to choose. Some people eloped. Some people did it anyway. I knew one thing for sure. I was not going to still host my favorite people in a giant room during a global pandemic. That just wasn't an option. So we canceled it. You know, like I just wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
And if someone out there did decide to do that, no disrespect to you, like you do what you got to do. But I just wasn't going to do that.
We were all making game time decisions.
Yeah.
We were operating based off instinct, and I just hope that we all just did what we felt was right for our friends and our family and everyone that was within our inner circle, and that's what we did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe going back to climbing here for a second.
Yeah, I was going to say I missed climbing during that time.
And you got some photos, and I said it in your intro. Did you take some photos that were featured in Climb Tech?
I was in photos that were featured in Climb Tech.
What's Climb Tech?
Climb Tech is actually a local company, but they're based in Austin, and that's one of my sponsors. Amazing. They have revolutionized quick draws, or for rope climbing, you have to clip a quick draw into the wall, right? Mm-hmm. Some people, especially trad climbers or traditional climbers, see how that can impact the environment in a negative way. Like you kind of have to drill into the wall a little bit. Well, Climb Tech has created this longer lasting technique of clipping where they're called perma draws. Perma draws, they dangle all the time and you clip as you go. And yeah, they're amazing. But they're a very good company. Very proud to be associated with them. I used to be sponsored by them, and I came out here and did a shoot with them.
Nice.
For some of their ads. That was great. Yeah. I love them.
Have you ever slept on the... Shout out Climb Tech. Wait, not Climb Tech.
Yeah, shout out Climb Tech. That was Climb Tech, yeah.
Climb Tech, yeah.
Climb Tech is great.
I'm trying to remember a lot of names here.
Climb Tech has become so successful. They are my favorite climbing area, the red in Kentucky. They have perma draws. They have Climb Tech perma draws all over now.
Sweet.
There, yeah. It's like, yeah, genius technology. It really is.
So as I mentioned, I have a fear of heights.
Yes.
And when I was watching both, I think this came up in both, where'd it go? Dawnwall and Free Solo. Uh-huh. Were these crazy people were sleeping on the side of a mountain. Mm-hmm. Have you ever done that?
I haven't had to, no.
Oh. I'm so happy
directly.
for you.
I was supposed to, no.
Is that something that you would want to do one day?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Oh my God, I would
You're
love
not
that.
scared
Are you kidding?
Of rolling out of the mattress in the middle of the night while you're asleep?
Put yourself into something crazy. if you're not there without a... Oh my God.
I didn't even think of it. See, this is how little I know about climbing. When they were taking those shots of those
confusing.
guys, I was like... What if you can't, because I'm a deep sleeper and I wake up sometimes in these crazy positions and I'm just like...
No. The way that works, it's called fiefing, right? So you fief yourself into the... I told you, climbing's like a different language.
That makes me feel better.
You fief into the wall. I don't know if Alex Honnold does that, but I would.
But most people do, or would.
Most people would. Yes, absolutely.
So in, what was the one with wall in the title?
Dawnwall.
So they were on that. Can we nerd out over Dawnwall for a minute?
Yeah, I haven't watched it in a while, but...
So I'll try to refresh your memory, but there is one point where they were on the wall for a total of 19 days. Mm-hmm. And part of the reason they were on the wall in this tent on the side of this mountain was because he was waiting for his skin to heal. Mm-hmm. And so he would wait for 2 days. So that means for 48 hours, he was sitting in a tent that is smaller than the studio.
Yeah.
With, and so are you just... That just seems bonkers to me.
Yeah. Are you? Is
I don't
the
even know what the
like,
question is because
are you bonkers because of like going to the bathroom off the side of a cliff, or is it like
Yes.
boredom?
Yes.
Or is it like not going insane?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the amalgamation of all of that.
I will say the bathroom is easier for men. Okay.
Right?
I will say boredom. That's kind of like, that's where that weird climbing camaraderie, like you find ways to entertain yourself and entertain people around you. I don't know. Bring up a deck of cards.
I mean, fortunately, they had two of them.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're doing that alone, that'd be like...
I don't know how you would do that alone. But yeah, like, if you think of it, like some of the members of my old climbing team, if I were stuck on a wall with them for 2 days, not doing anything, just waiting for my skin to heal, we would be like crying, laughing probably every hour. I don't know. We'd find ways to, you just figure it out. Yeah. Water is interesting though, because if you think of the weight of water that you have to carry up with you, I've had to abandon water bottles before on the side of, so it's called multi-pitch when it's tall like that. I don't do as much of that, but the first one I did, it's called Jawman. It's actually collapsed now, so no one can climb it anymore. I climbed that one, and our water guy, one of my buddies, I did it with 2 guys. We had to lose some of the weight. It was too much. So we had to cut some water.
And so
it's crazy. Yeah.
And I guess then you just moderate how much you're drinking based off how much you know you have.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I don't know how they handled it, like in Donwall. I wonder if the camera crew could just give them some water.
Being that I watched Donwall yesterday, and this issue never came up. So either the camera crew was giving them water, or it was just something they didn't feel needed to be addressed in the documentary.
I don't think it's typically addressed. I've never really heard anyone talk about it until me, because it's just something I noticed when I did it. You know, I mean, I wasn't up there for 19 days, but like, it's just one of those weird little things that you don't think about. Like when you're like, wow, someone climbed that. It's like, well, here's what went into it. It was a 9-mile hike just to get to the base of it. Have to set up camp there for 2 hours. You have to start early in the morning to hope that you can get to the top before the sun sets. And you can't bring an actual tent because it would blow away while you're doing the climbing part of this thing. So yeah, you're not equipped, and it's fucking freezing because it's windy, and I'm speaking from experience. And yeah, it is you rely so much on your partners to be there, and for encouragement and just to know what they're doing. Yeah. Like the reason there are deaths in rock climbing is usually from complacency, people getting overly confident. You'll hear like one of the most famous rock climbers in the world. It'll be a shocking, terrible news story of, you know, he just forgot to tie his safety knot or something like that. Like things that he has done 1,000,000 times, but then he ends up passing away, and it's tragic. But that's how it goes. It's like you cannot get complacent, so you have to trust yourself and trust that your partners are triple checking, in my case, like quadruple checking every single thing. Very safe. I don't think it's lame to be very safe. I think it's very cool to be very safe. Yeah. Triple check your knot. Make sure you tied it right. You know, just little things.
Well, even recently, it's like 3 episodes ago, we were about, fortunately I caught it early, but we were like 3 to 6 minutes in. It was very early. And I look over, and I was like, fuck, I didn't hit record. And I thought, no. And to your point, it was like, how did this... If this had happened at episode 1, no surprise. But I think at episode 1, to your point, I was so alert about everything. Like, are the mics plugged in? Is the cameras going? Is the audio going? Whereas I did wonder, like, it was a mix of not so much complacency. I'll admit, I was extremely nervous, and I don't
Oh,
know
yeah.
why. I don't know if you've experienced this in climbing where like 10 times you'll go up and it's like no nerves at all. And then one day out of nowhere, you're like, why am I so nervous for this one?
Oh, yeah.
And I
No,
think
definitely.
that's what it was I
Yeah.
just got in my own head.
And you get in your own head, and it causes you to like miss some of the basic things, like just breathe, take a step back, triple check your things, but not in a way where you're overdoing it, because then you'll miss even the tiniest of things that are the most important. Just like, yeah.
Do you have anywhere on planet Earth that you would like to climb in the future?
Oh my gosh, yes. Seus is amazing. I would love to do that. I would love to deep water solo in Greece. That would
What's
be amazing.
deep water solo?
Oh, deep water soloing? Okay, so you've seen free solo, right?
Yes.
It's that, but over water and a lot shorter, usually.
Over water.
So you climb, you're usually out on a boat, and you kind of step off of the boat in your climbing shoes, and you climb without a rope or anything. And if you fall into the ocean or into the lake. There was quite a bit of deep water soloing in Austin, which is very good. It's very good deep water soloing. But the water's been so low. It's too dangerous now. You might get impaled by like a tree or something.
Where's like a lake, or do you know the name of somewhere to deep water solo in Austin that used to be safe?
Lake Travis is good.
Lake Travis was a good
Pace Bend
place.
was great. I have so many secret spots.
So Kirsty,
secret spots.
after we have a few good winters, we're gonna invite you out here.
Yes.
I'll stay in the boat and watch you guys. I'll drive the boat. That'll be my job.
Oh, sounds
and you
good.
Guys can,
yeah.
You guys can deep water solo.
And while we go back and forth, then the other one can sunbathe. It's actually a really fun day. That's like the perfect climbing day. You just go up and climb, and then you're on a boat. So fun. I love it.
Fun.
Yeah.
That
Pace
does sound
Bend.
fun.
Pace Bend is prime. That's where we can go. We'll go there.
We'll go there. Pace Bend.
Pace Bend.
Send us some rain, Mother Nature. Send
Seriously?
Austin rain. Everyone do your rain dance.
One time I was so desperate to climb to do the steep water soloing, but all I had was my paddle board. So I paddle boarded with my brother all the way. And my husband. It was me, my brother, and my husband. We're like the Three Stooges, right? On this paddle board, going all the way across Lake Travis to the specific climbing area. And all we had was the little paddle board. And we climbed. And yeah, it was so fun. It's so fun. Yeah, we need rain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did ask you about that. So I have 3 closing questions for you. But before we get into those, I never like to end things too early.
Okay.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about tonight?
There's one thing that I don't know, maybe.
Well, what is
I
it?
don't know. I touched on this a little bit earlier, but just about, I've been asked a few times, like, why I stopped competing.
Why did you stop competing?
It's funny you should ask.
I have 4
It's so
closing
funny you should ask.
questions for you.
But again, I feel like throughout this episode, I've already touched on everything that I'm about to say, but, 1, I did not want it to feel like a job.
Yeah.
2, I just decided a different path for myself. Like, yeah, I didn't want climbing to feel like a job, but what else was I gonna do? And it's very hard. I mean, you know it's hard to find what you want to do. What are you born to do for a career? So I picked my second passion, which is design and art. And I pursued that. I was like, that will be the moneymaker, and then I'll enjoy climbing for what it is and for what it means to me. So those were the 2. So I just decided to make my second favorite thing the financial portion of my life. Whereas my first favorite thing, which is rock climbing, that's for me to enjoy. It's not for any sort of like career gain, I guess. Yeah.
How did you? Or go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I don't even know what I was gonna say.
How did you discover design and art was another passion of yours?
When I was at A&M's not really known for its like art programs or anything, except They do have one very good. I was actually an architecture major, but I didn't want to correct you in the intro.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, who cares? It was like, I don't even know what it was called back in the day. And who looks at that anyway?
Just podcast hosts.
Sorry. Historians. The only reason I was an architecture major, technically speaking, the one art program at A&M was within that school. So I started out doing traditional art because I'm an illustrator. I like to draw. And I don't paint, but I draw. And after year one, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make money doing this. And if I'm going to school to try and find a career path of some sort, I need to change it. So I changed it to new media art, which is where I learned graphic illustration and graphic design. And I fell in love with it. I love it. I mean, that's what I do still to this day. I've gone all across the board. It introduced me to photography. It really introduced me to so much. It's opened my eyes to so many career opportunities. I don't know. And I work for Expedia, which I love. It's like I'm working in travel, which I love, and I'm designing. Never thought I would actually make it here. I had such low self-esteem, like I said, in college, that the fact that I'm where I am today is pretty remarkable to me. Yeah, I'm quite proud of myself.
And you know what? You're setting a really good example too, because I know I've had a couple people approach me and they've graduated from college and they've done all the things that American culture says we're supposed to do, and they are bored, anxious, depressed, and they're just like, "Is this what I do until retirement?" And I think there's a couple different answers. One is you can change. I made a dramatic career change where I went to school for accounting and I was going to do accounting and I said, this shit sucks. And so now I'm a recruiter and I love it because I get paid to talk to people all day. And I'm like, this is my life. You're paying me money to interview people. All right. So
that's awesome.
First off, it's okay.
I'm very happy for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm happy for you. That's okay to do a major change. You can change majors while you're in college.
You can change your career at any time. It's just having the guts to do it. And I know some people have a better circumstance than others, or like something that would make it easier to actually do that, to make a big change. But if there's something you're uncomfortable with in your current state, you can make the change. You just have to decide to and then commit to it, which is so hard. It's so much easier said than done. But I don't know.
And then the alternative too is maybe you start to look at your day job as a means to an end, in the sense that you have your flower preservation business, which probably brings you a lot of joy.
Yeah.
I have my podcast, which brings me a lot of joy. What's something that your day job could, quote unquote, fund that would bring you that joy?
Exactly.
That you don't, because I don't think we have to be in love with our 8 to 5 Monday through Friday.
No. Yeah. A job is to support, in my opinion, and like exactly what you're saying, is there to support your passion, like to fund those things, like those trips that you want to go on and explore the world, or to fund
your rock climbing membership.
My rock climbing, exactly. You think I could pay for my rock climbing membership
without a job?
No, absolutely not. So that's why I put climbing as I categorize them. Climbing is that's my pleasure, right? And then, and then I somehow found a way to make art into a career, which for me, it was kind of selling my soul as a designer in doing marketing or whatever. Right now I'm doing editorial, which I love. But I am so happy with that. It's great because it could be a lot worse. But like for real, I mean, I don't know. I'm happy that I turned art into a career. Yeah. Graphic design, highly recommend. Yeah.
I do have a few more questions for you, but before we go into those, can I just say thank you one more time?
Of course.
This has been such a good episode. The guests that have come on the show in 2024, yourself included, have really just blown my socks off. I'm just like, why are you in my family room? Well, my kitchen. Why are you in my kitchen? So out of curiosity, why did you say yes to coming on?
I've never done it before. I was excited that you were interested to hear about rock climbing. Not a lot of people are, Yeah, and then I listened to a few of your episodes, and you haven't asked me this yet, but I liked that you started off asking people if they're happy. I thought that was pretty cool.
Did I forget to ask you?
We don't need to go there. I am happy. I think the answer...
I was going to say, I know now.
I've summarized at this point. Yes. But yeah, so I don't know. I thought it was interesting. And I was a little skeptical at first, but only because I was so nervous. And again, there's a reason you don't read about me online.
Right.
There's a reason for that. I'm very shy, usually. This is a good opportunity to practice talking, and thank you for that opportunity.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And I think going back to the, this is going to be listened to by a lot of people, but there's going to be 2 or 3 people where this is going to have a profound impact on their life.
Yes.
So even though you don't like your life being on Spotlight, we did it for them. And so I thank you for being transparent for those people.
That makes me so happy. I hope that someone gains something out of this. I'm not going to cry again.
They will.
But yeah.
So we sort of just answered this question, but let me ask it anyways.
Okay.
Who do you hope listens to this episode?
Anyone struggling with self-doubt or the negative self-talk, the voice in your head. There are ways to turn the volume down a little bit, and I just hope that they know that and are aware of that it is possible.
Yeah.
And there are ways to shut it off entirely, and just giving yourself grace. So yeah.
I think the one more day, one more rep, one more rock, one more hold, whatever
just
that
one
more is.
It's just one more. See how that goes across every aspect of your life? It's just one more hold, seriously. Because one more hold can lead to 5 more holds if you just try.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of courage, but so worth it. So worth it.
Here's the opposite question.
Okay.
Is there anyone you hope doesn't listen to this episode?
My ex-boyfriend. I'm just kidding. I know he won't. No, just kidding. I don't know. No, anyone that's going to fact check some of my climbing stats, not my own, just about, I'm confident in my climbing stats.
Yeah.
But no, I don't really care who listens to this. I hope people hear it.
I hope they do. They will.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that I've grown up around might be shocked by some of it, but maybe that's a good thing.
You think your family will listen?
I've been nervous about Mom and Dad.
Oh, why is that?
But I don't know. Mainly the eating stuff.
Do they know about that?
Oh yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah.
But it's something I don't talk about. So
they seem like
might as well now.
I loved your story about them showing up with the red shirts. Your
they did. My grandparents. It was the whole shebang. Yeah, they have been so supportive. Yeah.
It's been interesting because you're going to probably end up being like episode 67 or something like that. I forget at the moment, but about half the people, their families were very unsupportive, and about half the people, their families were very supportive. And it's interesting how both of those different viewpoints sort of projected them into the life they were supposed to lead.
Yeah, it's funny how that works out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's another question I get all the time is like, oh, well, do your parents climb? Did your family climb? Like, how did you get into it so young? That sort of thing. Like, no, they had no idea. A lot of parents will not, if you approach your mom and dad with a random thing and you're like, this is something I really genuinely want to pursue, but you're like 10 years old, they're going to be like, no, go to soccer practice. We paid for it already.
Right.
Or whatever it may be. I'm very fortunate. I have so much gratitude towards my mom and dad for they allowed me and my brother and my sister to each pursue, at least try a different thing, like whatever it was we wanted to try. And it happened to work out very well for me. I found my thing at a young age. I found my thing. A lot of people can't say that. I'm spoiled.
I think I found my thing when I was like 18.
What's your thing? Is it podcast?
No. Oh, no. Oh, no. It was much different. It was playing the piano for church.
Really?
So my mom had me start taking lessons around somewhere between 8 and 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I played for years. And then in my sophomore year of high school, I was able to start playing for chapel, which we had every Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
But there was so many musicians, we were on rotation. So it was like you got in maybe like once every 6 weeks or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was 18, I got an internship with the church. And my job, everyone, similar to the camp, how like everyone had a job.
Yeah.
Everyone was involved in everything, but you had like one main job. And my main job was playing piano with the church band. And the band came from Fresno, California, Sacramento, California. We had someone from the Dominican Republic. We had someone from Jamaica. We had someone from Florida. Like all these people sort of assembled. And I had 10 years of practice going into this. And say what you want about religion. I had so much fun playing with these like
That's
10
amazing.
to 12 people.
I am religious, so
It was one of the
I love that.
It was one of the best years of my life. It was
awesome.
so much fun playing. And I think part of the reason it was fun is because we all pushed each other to be better.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, no, I can't play that. And they'd be like, you don't have a choice. You need to play that.
Yeah.
Um,
You will play that.
Unfortunately, the pastor of that church ended up cheating on his wife with his assistant. And in any scenario, but especially in a church, that's really bad. That's really bad.
Not a good look. That's not a good look.
It's
No.
bad
No.
PR.
Tell her to give me a call. I've been there, sweetie.
So the church sort of
Oh my
split in a sense, and the internship just fell apart, and we all went back to our collective homes. I kept playing with different churches until I was about 22, and then I stopped. I stopped playing, and it's funny because I did bring it up with one guest that I have a sort of a regret that I don't play anymore. And he said, well, don't look at it like that. He said, look at it like this. Like you enjoyed that season of your life. And from 8 years old to 22 years old, the piano brought you your thing. And you shouldn't regret that you had 14 years of this awesome relationship with this thing. You should be excited for that.
Yeah.
And now you've just moved on to podcasting instead, and there shouldn't be any regret.
Yeah, there should not be regret. And now you know that will still be there. You can still play piano.
Right.
You can get you a keyboard.
Thank you. And there should be an empty wall somewhere around here we can push that up against.
I think that is beautiful, though, and that was very well said. That about the seasons, and don't regret it. I feel that sometimes about not being a professional rock climber anymore, but I don't regret the time that I had doing that.
Right.
You know, that's what makes us who we are. So, yeah.
We have a closing tradition on this podcast that for your last question, I take a question that I really liked from another podcast and ask it of one of my guests just to see how you'll respond.
Oh, no. Is it awkward? Am I going to be awkward? Okay, just go. I need refill. I'm just joking.
You can, take a sip. And part of it is give me 1 second. Is because the one I picked for you, we sort of answered already. So
okay.
Actually, here's a better one. This one's perfect for you. What is your rich life?
What does that mean? Was my rich life?
Yeah.
Like being outside and camping all the time?
Sure.
Do you mean like what will fulfill me?
It's not money related.
What will fulfill me?
Yeah.
I'm like thinking of any friends I have named Richard or something. I don't know. Okay, my rich life. Yeah. I guess would be
Richard.
my rich life would be all of my family being happy and feeling fulfilled and content, and like my mom and dad, my in-laws. Hopefully outside somewhere. And I've always been good about not caring what other people think. But that does, like, genuinely, I don't really, in high school, I don't really care what other people think about me, which is hard for a lot of people to say. But me not caring so much about what I think about myself would be rich. But my husband being happy, and my dog living forever and never dying. That would be rich. And
I wish that for you, Thad.
Yes.
Thad. He's 5, so we got at least a few. You want to hear a really funny conversation?
My dog's 5.
Oh, they're same age.
They're twins.
Like about 2 Mother's Days ago, we're all sitting around the table eating dinner, and somehow the topic of conversation got to when David dies. Who has to take and Thad? And I was like, wait a second.
Who gets to?
Wait a second.
What an honor.
First off, why am I only going to live maybe 9 more years? I'm young, I'm healthy, I diet, I exercise. I mean, sure, I drink a little on the podcast, but then I'm like, also though, why are we framing this question as has to? He sleeps all day. It's
an opportunity, guys.
Anyways, this guy volunteered to take him on. In fact, he even has a key to here just in case I step off a sidewalk and get hit by a bus.
Oh my God, don't put that idea out into the world.
There's lots of buses.
So my husband always... Touche. There's lots of sidewalks.
There's lots of sidewalks to trip off of.
To stay on.
That's why we're doing all of my, that's the real reason I'm doing the walks in the floor. It's just I have a crippling fear of buses.
That's incredible. Oh my God, you sound like me. Sorry. I'm always saying the worst possible outcome, and my husband just looks at me with his jaw on the floor. Why would you even speak that into the universe?
Yeah, I mean, I never really mean it.
I'm not conjuring it.
It's
just no, I'm just joking.
Dark sense of humor, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Love that. I'm not gonna lie. I walked Barrett, my dog, right before I came on this podcast, and there was a black cat laying right in the middle of the sidewalk, which is so fucking weird, by the way, where I live, not normal. And I was like, do I need to call David and tell him I can't do it? Is this a sign? Like, what is that? What does that mean? But my dog didn't bark at it. And I'm like, that's a good sign. So, yeah. Signs from the universe. I don't know. They get to me. That was such an ADD moment. Sorry. I have ADD.
I was just thinking about if I had like any signs today, but today was a really good day. Work was smooth. Went to the gym on my lunch break. We had 2 great walks, and we're about to have a third because he gets weird on podcasting days. You know what's funny is I think he actually knows when we're podcasting because the last 3 episodes, I started turning this stuff on. I brought my laptop over here, and you know what he did? He walked right to the front door, the edge where the carpet and the wood meet, and he sat down and he was just staring at the door. And I was like, "Are you waiting for someone to arrive?" He
just knows.
He knows. He's smarter than he lets on.
Yeah. It's selective intelligence. They choose when they're going to act like when they're smart, you know. And then they'll play dumb when you're like not giving them a ball or treats or something, you know. Yeah. Yeah. Crazy.
Well,
amazing.
It's funny. We said we weren't going to go for 3.5 hours when we got pretty damn near close.
What time is it?
We took a few breaks, but it's been on for 3 hours and 2 minutes. So.
Oh gosh, I'm
probably
sorry.
No. I don't care.
I was nervous it'd be too short, honestly.
You were like, we're going to be done in 15 minutes.
Okay, yeah. Well, I hope that there's some good material.
There is.
Okay, good.
I know. You should say that. Say, I know this was a good episode.
I do know this is a good episode. This is a great episode.
This was
and
so
everyone
good.
needs to watch this episode.
This was so good. It was really fun. We laughed. We cried. We hit every range of emotion.
I love it. We're all going rock climbing together. It's gonna be great,
dude. But not
laughed, cried. Such a joy.
no more dates. Quit the dates. At Austin Boulder & Co.
I'm banning Tinder dates. I need my wall space, okay, people?
Maybe it could be a rule like you have to be on at least your 5th date. Like it can't be your first. There needs to be like a foundation.
That would be good. Wait, okay, before we actually hang up this call that we're having,
right?
I did go on a first Bumble date, so I'm a hypocrite already, at ABP. And the guy had said that him and his twin brother were climbers. And clearly the twin brother was, but the guy I was going on a date with was not. And he showed up in a suit and cowboy boots at the climbing gym, which I do not judge a book by its cover, whatever. Don't wear cowboy boots or a suit to the rock climbing gym. That's my other.
Was it like a joke?
Advice. No. No.
So he was going to climb in boots.
Well, you change. He was like, oh, I brought my change of clothes with me, which, why didn't you just change before? Maybe I'm just being a bitch. But, like, I don't get it. Why did you show up in a suit?
I could sort of maybe him show up like...
He works from home.
I'm putting my best foot forward.
He works from home.
But maybe he's trying to put his... I don't know why I'm playing devil's advocate for this stranger.
Best boot forward.
So was the change of clothes more rock climbing friendly?
I guess. I don't really remember. It was a long time ago. I just remember the boots and the suit being like... It was so interesting. I've never seen that in a climbing gym before. Maybe I'm being judgmental.
Well, here's the other thing. He brought his brother with him?
No, his brother wasn't there that time, but he had told me. And then later on the second date, there was a second date. Yeah, he didn't really climb much that first one.
You know what that just made me remember? Is when one of my old acquaintances, I'm not calling him a friend.
Oh, gosh, here we go. Okay.
His name's Chris, and we were coworkers. We worked at the same gym. And he was like, dude, I pulled this move with this chick last night. You want to hear it? And I was like, yeah. Actually, yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, let me hear it.
Yeah,
give me some ammunition, here for good first date moves. So what he did was, I guess it was really hot out. And not I guess, it was a hot summer day in Sacramento, California. And they, for one reason or another, they met at his place. She knocks on the door. He invites her in. He's like, do you want to have a drink before we go out? And she comes in, and then he was like, oh my God, it's so hot out. He had put on a sweater. He's like, I thought it was a lot cooler outside. So in front of her, like imagine this is happening right here. He takes off his sweater and is like, let me go change. Yep. And then walks away so she can see him shirtless for a few seconds.
It's one of those. It's a maneuver. It's a thing. Like, oh no. I just want everyone out there to know that male or female, like, when someone is doing that.
What?
We can recognize that. Yeah, I would definitely. Oh my God. I'm like,
you think she knew what he was doing?
Yeah. Oh my God. Bless his heart. Bless his heart. Yes. That's a move. That's a maneuver.
It's a move. Whether it's a good move or a bad move or a neutral move or whatever word you want to put in front of it.
Yeah, which direction is it going?
And maybe for some humans that would work. Maybe some humans just go so weak at the knees for a good set of pecs that they're just like, oh,
some really do.
I'm so glad he did that.
Yeah.
This is the perfect date already.
We're off to a great start. Yeah.
There's someone out there for everyone.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Everyone's different.
Oh my God! I'm so glad we ended on like weird first dates. That was.
Yeah, what a way to go!
I wasn't expecting that.
Oh my! Oh, we'll have to. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, that was great. This is great.
Great.
I had so much fun. This was so fun. Thank you.
You're welcome
for having me here.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. You did a fantastic job. I can't wait to release this. To you, the audience, if you stuck with us for the last 3 hours, thank you.
Is this live?
No.
Oh, jeez. Like, sorry, God. I hope you haven't been watching me for 3 hours.
I hope you did.
Oh.
No, it's not. It's live. Did you just almost have a panic
I waited
attack?
until the last 30 seconds.
There's 1,000 people on the other side of this thing.
Thank you. Like a live stream, I don't know.
That would be awful if I was live streaming this and did not tell you.
That would be very fucked up.
That would be
We're done.
bad.
We're done if that's the case. I quit. Just kidding. That was a genuine question. Okay, I'm glad this isn't live.
There's no one there. I know we've been like looking at the camera a few times, but
okay.
You're like, that
Love
moment with that girl was real?
Yeah. Oh my God, it was heartfelt. God, God damn.
No, it's
No, I'm just joking. Oh my God.
This has been such a good episode. If you enjoyed it as much as I did, please
this is so great.
Share it with a friend. Copy the link, text it to someone, and then subscribe to the YouTube channel. And I would be so grateful for you to help. I can't take myself as seriously right now. You know what to do. I say it in every other episode. I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Good night.